Hi, we're glad you're here, and we're about to begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. KenCast After Dark. Stimulating conversations all night long. And here's your host, Ken Cole.
Hey everyone, welcome to a very special KenCast After Dark. I haven't been getting any sleep the past couple days because I've just been watching and rewatching that amazing new Cobra Kai trailer. I hope you have too. Welcome everyone. Thank you for watching tonight. So glad to have you with us. We are going to be diving into this new Cobra Kai Season 5 trailer. We're going to look at it shot by shot. And we have some of the best minds with us tonight to look at this trailer. First of all, I'd like to introduce the one and only Drew Rohally from the Last Row podcast. Drew.
Hey, Ken.
How are you? It's great to have you.
Good. I'm ready for stimulating conversation all night because I can't wait to talk about Terry Silver, you know, where my head's at right now. And I haven't been able to sleep either ever since I've seen the man, the myth, the legend in that turtleneck and that blazer. It's just all I've been thinking about. So thank you for having me.
Yes. And we will get to your Last Row podcast very soon. We have some news regarding that. And then I'd also like to introduce Chris Maffei. Chris, thank you for joining us. You are a Cobra Kai expert. You have seen this show. It is not only are you familiar with all of the Karate Kid movies, but I think you have called Cobra Kai your favorite show on television right now.
That's true. That is true. And thank you so much, Ken. You are far too kind. This is an honor. Not every day you get to be on one of your favorite YouTube channels. So yeah, this is a big thrill. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. And it's great to have both of you guys. We are going to, and great to see all of you actually. Let's go into the comments, guys. Send us your comments. We will try to get them all. Robana says, hey, Drew.
Hey.
Kate says, hey, Drew.
Hi,
Tim,
hi everybody.
Hey. Roundtable. Terry Silver got the drip.
Yes, he does.
Joshua says, will Ken Cole and Tom Cole come on home to Miyagi-Do? That's a great question. Guys, go watch Cobra Cole. Links in the description if you haven't seen it. Dude says, oh, that's you. That's the Last Row podcast.
There we
Dude,
go.
hey, everyone. Robana, good to see you. Clifton, great to see you. Daniel, great to have you back. Ex Cobra Kai Bricks, good to see you. Yeah, Roundtable. They'll probably reveal Barnes and the Foes last week because he wasn't gonna be in the trailer. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that tonight. Yes. M says, love nerding out on some Cobra Kai. Great to see you guys. Relectify Stream says those posters look so good. Serena, great to see you. Bit of Brookie, wonderful to see you. Jay Sadan, great to see you. Well, okay, guys, we have so much for you in store today. But before we get into our main discussion today, we are going to get into the news.
KenCast News.
All right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think I heard about some news this week regarding Cobra Kai. Just a little bit. And so I'll throw this story up. Look at this. People Magazine reports Cobra Kai drops intense Season 5 trailer highlighting Terry Silver's turn to super villainy. Now, I just need to get your guys' reactions to this headline. Drew, I know you're a super Terry Silver fan.
Man, you know, I don't know that he turned to super villain. He's been there, and I think it's just highlighting back what he has been doing. And you know, for me, I'm just excited to have him back. I don't know, maybe we might have lost Ken here, but there he is. But I'm excited to have him back. And you know, for me, it's last season was a little bit of the tofu Terry, as Chris has coined. I have to give you credit for that. But you know, he was a little soft, but he went where we wanted him to go, even though I was a little duped throughout the whole season. And then they got me good. But right in the end, when he pulled a fast one on good old John Kreese, yeah, I guess he's back in super villainy. So I can't complain about where he's at. I'm riding high right now, Ken. I'm riding real high.
Yes, I'm right there with you. Now, Chris, you're a fan of this entire enterprise, this entire series, this entire franchise.
Absolutely.
Now, and we've talked about Terry Silver, but on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself as a Terry Silver fan?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. like when I listen to you guys talk about him, I feel like maybe a 4.
Give yourself more credit, man.
Terry Silver, it's weird because like, you grow up and you watch the Karate Kid 3 and you don't, no one's talking about that, at school, wherever. So you never really have a chance to really talk about this just wacky, insane character of Terry Silver with anyone. And then you find people who can articulate everything about him so masterfully. And then suddenly it's like, well, I don't know anything. Like I'm just along for the ride here. Like, Ken, you are a Terry Silver scholar. Like,
Well, that's actually the best compliment anyone's ever paid me. Thank you, Chris. But that's great because you appreciate Terry Silver. But
I do.
Yeah, if Drew and I slant a little towards Terry Silver, I'm glad you're here because you can maybe provide balance, as Miyagi would say, and give us maybe a fuller perspective on everyone's viewpoints.
Sure.
Because it's hard for me to get out of Terry Silver's corner. So it's good to have you, Chris. Okay, so we'll get on to our next news story. This kind of was just announced. This is from Ralph Macchio. He's posting this conversation that's going to be happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time with Ralph Macchio plays Daniel LaRusso, and his TV daughter, Mary Mauser, plays Sam LaRusso. So I thought this looked pretty cool. So I thought everyone, if they hadn't seen this, they might want to check it out tomorrow. That should be a lot of fun.
That looks awesome. I have not seen that. I'm just seeing that now for the first time, but I will definitely be checking that out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a link there. I'm sorry, I didn't put the link in the description, but yeah, it looks like just follow Sony Pictures Television or just search YouTube tomorrow. I'm sure they'll have that up there for you. Let's see, what else do we have? Couple other house cleaning. Mentioned Cobra Kai earlier. Guys, check out Cobra Kai if you haven't seen it. That is my film with me and David Shatraw, who plays Tom Cole on Cobra Kai. Tom Cole, Ken Cole, Willie Cole, Terry Silver, maybe. Check it out and see if there are any kind of connections there. And I think all fans of Cobra Kai will get a kick, pun intended, out of that one. Next, Drew. Okay, so this is the Last Row podcast. This is your podcast, Drew. And this month is a special month. You cover all movies. I'm wondering if you could give everyone just a quick overview of your podcast and what you guys do.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been doing this podcast for quite a number of years. We're up to episode 112, and we tend to skew towards some of the 80s and 90s movies that I think a lot of people love. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so that's obviously the Terry Silver and the Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid stuff. But we try to put ourselves in the world of the movie, and we rate different villains, and we have fun with it. We don't necessarily just do like a plot recap. We try to go through it, have a fun time talking about the world of the movie and the motivations of the characters and the silly things. And to be honest, we have a patented villain scale that we have a lot of fun with, where we try to objectively rank different villains on our show. And one person that we've done in the past, and in fact, how I met both of you guys was through our Terry Silver episode that we did called The Ballad of Karate Kid Part 3, The Ballad of Terry Silver, which we did back in 2015, I believe. So it's probably outdated now because we know about what happened to Terry Silver in between for the most part. But at that time, we speculated on a lot of the fun stuff from Karate Kid 3. So if you ignore Cobra Kai, go back and listen to that, and you might enjoy where we went with that.
It's a timeless classic, I must say. That's how I found The Last Row. It became one of my favorite podcasts of all time. It's just a delight to listen to every episode. And, amazing things happen when you just search Terry Silver, because that's how I found The Last Row. That's how I found Ken's channel, just randomly searching Terry Silver on YouTube. So be out there searching Terry Silver. You'll find some great content.
I think it's fit. And well, thank you, Chris, for the kind words. And it's fitting that you're in between us on the video there, because you're the reason why you introduced me and Ken. And I think, thank you for doing that. And, it's been a great, awesome time since then. You introduced me to Ken's YouTube channel, and it's been awesome. I immediately binged every single video of yours, Ken.
Oh,
watched all of them.
Thank you. Yes. So everyone, Chris is responsible for a lot happening. And so thank you, Chris. You may well be, I think, the center of the Cobra Kai universe. You made everything happen. So
the world is a much better place for you two being able to link up and talk Terry Silver. And I have enjoyed it immensely. I watch the KenCast every week. I'm never able to catch the streams live, so I can't really chat along, but I do watch them. I do watch every stream, and it's a pleasure every time. So I'm very glad that you two linked up and just went off to the races.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much. And before we get back to Drew, he's going to tell us about Predator. Chris, could you tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel? And I have a link in the description.
Oh, sure. I have a little project. It's not very active right now, admittedly, but it's called Wrestling Undercover. I do covers of pro wrestling themes. I've done about 15 or 16 of them. It's just something I've been working on for the past few years. Like I said, it's not active right now just because of, who has time to do things these days. But in the near future, I actually plan to start a new channel where I do more of a variety of different music that I work on, including music from Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid. That's something I've been wanting to really work on in the near future, is covers of Cobra Kai and Karate Kid music, because it's one of my favorite things about the show and the movies is the awesome music. So keep an eye out for that, and when I have that kind of going, I'll be sure to let everyone know.
That's great. Okay, so everyone, go down. There's a link in the description and check out Chris's channel. Sounds like he has some really amazing stuff coming along. So everyone, go ahead and subscribe to Chris's channel. Now, the Last Row Podcast, that also has a YouTube channel, and you guys are doing this special tribute to Predator. Is that right? Classic movie Predator.
Yeah, so with the release of the new movie on Hulu, Prey, we decided that we would go back. We're huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fans and just action movies in general. I'm an Arnold Schwarzenegger fanboy, so we decided to go with Predator month. So we're tackling Predator, which we actually just released our new episode today. So go check that out, thelastrowpodcast.com. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're doing Predator this week, and then in 2 weeks on September 1st, I guess technically it's the next month if we're talking semantics, but it's a month long. So we're going to go and go over the Danny Glover classic, Predator 2, starring Gary Busey, Danny Glover, and all the fun stuff. We had a really fun time with the first Predator episode. We went back and did a whole bunch of different things, including drafted our own 4-person Predator attack team. So check that out and definitely let us know what you guys think. But we had a lot of fun with that. I'm looking forward to the one in 2 weeks. So thank you for letting me plug that.
Absolutely. And then also, I know people are itching for an update on your Terry Silver trading card. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
So I've been promising that I would post this to social media, and I am a very poor host for my stuff, but I'm trying to find the most tasteful way to put this out here. But yeah, we also mentioned the villain scale here that we do. So we decided, if you have not seen this yet, I know some of the folks that are in here from the stream are regulars. So thank you for everyone that gave the positive feedback here. But we've been taking all our villains and we put them through this patented scale. So I'm a huge fan of trading cards and trading cards from like the 90s. I had a whole bunch of Marvel Comics trading cards. In fact, I have some in my closet over here, and they look a lot like this. So I mimicked the look and feel of that Marvel trading card and decided that we would do this for all of our villains. I'll give a huge shout out to Badway, my co-host. He wrote the descriptions in here. And, one thing I'll say is, depending on how season 5 turns out, we might need to re-rank Terry's henchman rating here, especially if we're getting, senseis with eye patches and all these different people that are coming in. Like he might have to go up to a 5 here. So we'll see, but I'm going to release these for all of our old villains. We're going to go back and do some streams and re-rank some of the other villains. But the idea is that we'll be making these for other people beyond Terry. But if I don't get sued, maybe I'll find a way to give these out to some people.
That's great. Well, Matt asks, where can I buy that trading card? Take my money now.
Seriously. I not only would I buy just an entire case of just the Terry cards, but I would also buy a poster size version of that. Who doesn't just want to look at that all day?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Cecilia says he's a 5 out of 5.
He's a 5. I wish it was a 10 because he's a perfect 10 to me.
Yeah. And Cecilia says, Drew, you should rank Ken Cole as a villain.
We have the good guy gauge, so maybe, and Ken might be a perfect score on the good guy gauge because he's a good guy here. So we haven't really formalized that one. It's more of an informal ranking that we have. So we have a lot of rankings.
Yes, and everyone check out the Last Row podcast. They do fun stuff like that, like rank villains, and so I can't wait to see all of the news regarding the Terry Silver trading card and potentially posters and other swag Chris brought up. So that's entered my brain. I want it now.
Hey, what's with the lack of Cobra Kai and Terry Silver specifically merchandise? Like, who do we have to bribe to get a Terry Silver action figure or Funko
They've
Pop?
got Daniel, they've got Johnny, they've got John Kreese. I've seen these at my local comic book shop. Like, give me a Terry action figure. I need it.
You'd think that Terry is an expert at bribing. So if we could ask Terry if he's watching now, who should we bribe to get merch based on you? Right?
Where's Josh? Where's Josh, John, and Hayden at right now? Please.
Right. Guys, yeah, I know you guys love Terry Silver. Let us know if there's some Terry Silver swag coming. He's just an amazing villain. Okay. We'll get back to that, guys, because we are entering a new phase of this this live stream podcast, whatever you want to call it. And that's our main discussion.
KenCast discussion.
All right. So everyone, we are ready to go. We are ready to dive into this, guys. Are you ready? We've got a lot of shots. We are going to go shot by shot through this trailer, and we're going to just talk about our thoughts and if there's any information to be gleaned or how it makes us feel. Basically, this is going to be the ultimate discussion of this trailer. So give me the word, guys, and we'll go. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah. Man.
Well, let's do it. But first, I have to point out that Kate Maloney here says that Ken is a +12.
There you go.
Yes. Thank you, Kate. Is that +12 like villain?
I'm saying good guy gauge.
Oh, good guy gauge. Oh, thank you. That's
what I'll say, but you know.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Kate. It's great to see you guys. Okay. Oh, that's okay, guys. That's Drew. Better yet, you should do a comparison between Ken Cole and Silver in terms of success and personality.
I like that, Melissa.
Yes, that's great. All right, guys. So should we just launch into this?
Yeah.
And before we jump into this, and we'll let everyone kind of know people are still signing on. Drew and Chris, can you talk about your story or personal experience watching this trailer, and how you came about to see it, how you came about to learn about it, and how you felt after watching it? Drew, I'll let you go first.
Well, it's a little bit the other day when you guys were texting me about the pictures that released. I was sort of in a black hole of work and I hadn't seen anything. The trailer I actually watched after work. I had a chance to catch it up after, and man, I wasn't sure what to expect going in. And I think when we look at a lot of these things, I'm always torn on whether I want to watch it or not. I know I need to because we have to analyze it. We've got to break it down. But it's almost like what I said, I think the last time we spoke, part of you doesn't want to know and you want to go in blind. But I did watch it, and I watched it multiple times. And then I watched your breakdown, which was fantastic, Ken. And it was just such a pleasure to see Terry riding high again. And I love what they're setting up, especially, I'm sure we'll get into it, but maybe a little romance going on with Terry. Maybe he's trying to pull one over on Daniel. I like the unhinged Daniel views. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. But the big thing that stood out to me was the lack of Mike Barnes. I was surprised about that. That was the thing that really stood out to me. But I was super happy. I'm excited. I love the song. Love the Judas Priest behind there. Couldn't wait to, I just can't wait to see what happens with this season. I'm super pumped.
Absolutely. That's great. A great story, Drew. Chris, what was your history with this trailer?
Yeah. So I knew it was coming out because I follow all the news and I follow everyone on YouTube. I work from home, so have a little bit of flexibility in that I was able to watch it as it came out. And I was also watching it along with Drew, the Cobra Kai kid. So that's always fun when you get to watch his live streams whenever he does the trailer reactions, because his reactions are just priceless. So I watched along with him, and then I was, going through and looking at every frame and breaking it down and found some things that I completely missed the first couple times I watched it. And this trailer actually didn't elicit the reaction from me that the pictures did the week before. There were a few of those pictures that I was like my wife could hear me yelling from the other room. But this trailer, I was more kind of like, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were some shots in here that I was just like, oh my God, this is what a snapshot. And we'll go over all of those, but and I think you guys know at least one of them that I'm talking about. So yeah, I love this trailer a lot. I also love the Judas Priest music as well.
Yeah.
That's always great whenever they utilize classic metal like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually in San Francisco with my wife, and I was slated to be there until Tuesday or Wednesday. And then all this news dropped that, oh, get ready for tomorrow, get ready for tomorrow. So I was like, hey, we got to go home. So we did it. We booked it overnight and landed in time for the trailer to release. And so it was all a very pleasant dream. And like you guys said, really exciting. And, you know, I know a lot of people, it's inspired a lot of discussion from people. Of course, as people see as we go through this, Mike Barnes is not in the trailer. And I know that maybe, I'm sure you guys have like different ideas of why we don't really see him in the trailer. But I don't know, do you guys want to address that really quick before we start?
It was interesting that we didn't see him. And I think I saw someone wrote, maybe, I don't remember where I saw it, but maybe that's why they showed the picture. And maybe it was because it was sort of anticipating, you know, maybe that's why they kind of let people know. But in a way, I almost wish if he wasn't going to be on the trailer, I almost wish I didn't see the picture and it was kept a mystery, because I like the surprises. I'm curious if it means he'll barely be in the season. I know we speculated on that last week, but it's interesting to see where that might go. I mean, obviously, I'm excited to see Barnes back. Sean Kanan's amazing, but it's going to be interesting to see what role he plays in the season and how much screen time he actually gets. Maybe they're saving it.
Right. Ben Urban says, I assume they're keeping the Master Bully story a secret for the sake of what direction they're taking his role. Very interesting. Chris, what do you think? What do you think about them keeping Mike Barnes kind of under wraps? It
doesn't alarm me too much because I think Sean Kanan tweeted out that the Big Three wrote him a nice story. So that kind of tells me that there's a little bit of, you know, there's some meat there with the Mike Barnes character. It's not just, he's not just going to show up and it's going to be a one-off. In my opinion, he's probably going to be a bigger part of the season than any of us realize. And maybe the reason that we aren't seeing him is because a lot of the trailer is maybe the front half of the season, like they traditionally do. A lot of the shots in the trailer that we usually get are of those first few episodes. So that could potentially be why. Maybe he's the end of episode 5, here comes Mike Barnes, so that I'm not too worried about it. If anything, I'm glad that they're saving a lot of that and just leaving us with that one picture. I know it's controversial to release the picture, but I think just knowing that he's going to be in the season isn't necessarily a huge spoiler. I think what he's doing would be a bigger spoiler. So I'm glad that we're not getting really anything in that realm.
Right, exactly. Robert Huswick says, I hope Barnes will be the Clint Eastwood of the whole thing, an anti-hero, which is
comes
great.
in and messes things up.
Yep. Terry Johnson says, I kind of hope Mike doesn't change good. Too many villains becoming good guys already. And I know you've said that before, Drew. It's like you kind of want some characters to be bad because they're villains and they just should be bad and they shouldn't need to be redeemed.
Yeah, I like the sake of bad guys being bad. And I saw a few comments in here talking about anti-heroes, and I think it's a good word to use. Someone earlier said, I can't recall the name, I apologize, but someone had mentioned that Kreese was gone from villain to anti-hero. And I think I'd rather him be an anti-hero than have like a full-on redemption arc, because I just want John Kreese to be a bad guy too. Like, I don't know. I don't think everyone needs a redemption arc. And I certainly hope that Terry doesn't get it. I trust the writers. Like, I mean, they've done no wrong, honestly, in a lot of this. So they've done a great job. But I really don't want Terry Silver to be redeemed. And honestly, I don't even want him to be defeated. I just want him to win. So
Right. Exactly. We've got Peter from Cobra Kai Companion.
Hi, Peter. I love your podcast.
He's got a great podcast, guys. Go look at the Cobra Kai Companion podcast. He says, hey, fellas, just want to say hello. Can't stay because I haven't done my breakdown yet. I know.
Peter also has an awesome movie podcast. Check it out, Podstalgic. Go check out his podcast. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely check that out. And I know, and I know you guys, I don't know if you've kind of looked around, but I've kind of been on blackout too, because it's like, I don't want to, I want to make sure that all my ideas are my own. I still really haven't watched anyone else's breakdown. So anyway, and then he said also, Ken didn't get the memo about wearing Cobra Kai gear. Well, actually,
Oh man,
Here we go.
there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
There it is.
There
we
it
go.
He saved
is.
it for this moment.
That's right. That's
All
right.
right.
This is what it's all about. And one thing I wanted to touch on, you guys were talking about maybe this stuff was kind of from the first half of the season. And it's interesting. That's one kind of thing I felt while watching this, is it seemed like we've got sort of expansions and nuances of the information we already know. But I got the feeling that, yeah, this is kind of it. Like, this is all they're going to know. It's like we've kind of hit that hard edge of story here, because there were probably tons of surprises that we can't even anticipate. So, so with that said, let's launch in. All right, guys, here's the first shot. We see Daniel LaRusso, and this is a repeated shot from the previous trailer. Sorry. Where they're looking at the television, and he's basically saying, this is what we're up against. And I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts about this going forward, about him? I know that this is kind of repeated material.
Yeah, I think it shows that the same stuff that we saw before, but it shows like that, okay, here's a threat. They're just trying to really hammer home, okay, this is for real. Like, they're trying to get together and team up and really talk about the severity of the situation. But it was that repeated, but I think it was done on a reason. Like, they wanted to show that to make sure that you understood, hey, this is some serious stuff going on right now.
Right. Absolutely. And then Chris, you're a fan of all the movies, so you would consider yourself a fan of Karate Kid 2 as well.
Absolutely. It goes back and forth between the Karate Kid 1 and Karate Kid 2 as being my favorite. Like, Terry Silver is, I love Terry Silver, but the Karate Kid 2 often is my favorite to watch, just after watching them so many times. So I am so excited that Chosen is back. I am a huge fan of Chosen. So I will never get tired of watching Daniel and Chosen watch Terry Silver on a TV screen. Like, I could just watch a gif of that all day.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. And just Chosen's presence and the way he's just even looking at the TV screen right now, it's just amazing. It's like, you do not want to mess with this guy. I can't wait to see what's going to happen when Chosen first meets Terry Silver. That's going to be great. I wonder what Terry is going to make of Chosen, because we never saw his reaction to the I Am Gasoline line.
Yeah.
I mean, how does Terry react to that? I don't know. Wild Man Beyond, thank you for the super chat, guys. Thank you. I love super chats. They help support the channel, help pay the bills. Thanks for supporting Wild Man. He says, this season is not the Avengers. It's the Expendables of Cobra Kai.
Dude.
Thinking of 80s,
yes.
They got everybody.
Yes, Wild Man. Because that's all I could think about. And it's the perfect analogy. Like, you see so much firepower on one screen. Like, when you're looking at Johnny, you're looking at Chosen, and you're looking at Daniel, and all these people in the same like frame together, like Chris was saying, it's amazing. Like, I never thought I would ever see this in my life. When you get Terry Silver interacting with Chosen, or even when we saw Terry Silver fighting Johnny Lawrence, like, who would have ever guessed that we would get that? What a time, man. It's really special, and it's awesome as a fan of the series and whatnot.
This is where, like, if I ever got a chance to talk to the big three, I would just thank them for making dreams come true.
Yes.
Like, the idea that Johnny and Chosen are going to be in the same frame, the idea that Terry Silver and Chosen are going to be in the same frame. And by the way, if Terry's response to I Am Gasoline is not I am toxic waste, then like cancel the show.
He needs that.
Come on, like,
Chris, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's great. Temjin44, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for the super chat, guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you. You guys make it all possible. Really appreciate it. Okay, so now we have this shot. Now, this is new because in the last trailer, it made them look like they were watching a Cobra Kai Terry Silver commercial on television. Now it's kind of showing like a news story that Terry Silver just won the All Valley tournament. So are they playing shenanigans, guys? What do you think they're actually looking at here in the TV show, in the season?
That's interesting how they did swap that in. And all I can think of for me is just my man's dreams came true. He finally won. I'm happy for him. I'm just really happy for him. Look at that smile. He's so happy. He's triumphant.
Peter says it looks like he's singing karaoke.
He does. I think it is. Yeah, that's awesome. It does look like that, Peter. And I agree with this, and it's interesting. It could be a bait and switch. I'm curious what's the actual shot. Maybe it's neither of these. Maybe
Right.
maybe it's something else.
Right. But Drew, you bring up a really great point. I mean, all of us, I think, who enjoyed Karate Kid 3 and liked Terry Silver wanted him to win, and so it's just, this is a great moment. He's won, and the thing is, I think Terry's smart enough to know that world domination isn't complete until you've completely controlled the karate scene, at least in the regional level in the Valley.
Yeah.
Maybe in the national or world level.
Hey,
Right.
he's not going to stop at the San Fernando Valley here. This man has a dream. He's got a dream of world domination, and I think he's not going to stop until he's got it all. And I'm along for the ride, man. I'm ready.
Well,
I just
Robert,
gotta. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say I just gotta appreciate Matt Moore's comment. Terry is singing "Don't Leave Me Stranded Here" on the high wire.
I know. I wish we could see Terry Silver sing. I do, because we know Thomas Ian Griffith can sing. That would be amazing if Terry Silver could serenade us all. I was going to pull this up. Robert said sociopathic smile. And the thing is, Drew, Chris, I wanted to ask you, do you understand this sort of like admiration of Terry Silver, or do you think it's weird that we want Terry to win? Like, is he just obviously a villain?
No,
Like,
I totally get it. Like, and coming from wrestling fandom, like, there are so many wrestling fans who just always want the heel to win. Like it's fun. Like, heels are fun. Villains can be fun. Terry Silver is, I can't think of a villain that's more fun than Terry Silver. Like, in anything. So I totally get it. Like, it's not my nature with this show, and the way I approach it is I am firmly of just, I love watching this all unfold. If I had to take a side, it would of course be with, the Miyagi side of things. That's where my allegiance would be. And as a big Terry Silver fan, that might be like sacrilege, but I appreciate Terry Silver's villainy, and I enjoy it the way I would enjoy booing a heel at a wrestling show, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And Kyle says he's a businessman. He's more like a psychopath. He's a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they sometimes can all mix together those kind of concepts, and that's how the world runs, right? I mean, not all kind of millionaire, billionaire psychopaths can be that bad, right? Let's take a look at this shot. Okay, guys. This looks like, to me, when I looked at it, it looked like it could be like a corporate event or a charity event. Like, looks like it's an auction. It looks like there's a gavel and people are kind of holding up numbers. But I wanted to get your takes on what we might be looking at here. And Chris, what do you think we're looking at?
This one I haven't quite pinned down yet. I'm not sure where this is. This could be on Terry's property. It could be somewhere else. I don't know. Like, is Terry auctioning something off? I really haven't pinned this one down yet. But what really interests me is Amanda front and center, and whatever her motive is here. Is this before or after the scene we see with Daniel later? Is she here undercover? Does Terry know who she is? Yeah, I mean, he's got to know who she is. This is the one where I have just so many questions, and I haven't yet figured out, what my theory is, so to speak.
Interesting. Cecilia says
I
she and her
agree.
friends think that Terry Silver is auctioning himself off for a date.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was one of those the charity auction, like, oh, I want to date with this eligible bachelor here. I mean, I don't know that his girlfriend's out of the picture, at least that we're aware of, right? Cheyenne. So we don't know what she's up to, but I thought it was a date auction. But I agree with Chris. Like, I wasn't sure if this was on his property. Like, at first I thought maybe it was his house because it had that architecture looking look, but I don't know if it's that, or maybe I saw another comment in here. Maybe he's trying to get another location, but I do agree with Chris too. it's interesting that you see Amanda's wearing that red dress that you see later. So you got to imagine there's some connection between what she says to Daniel, whether it's before or after this. But look at that charm and look at that charisma, man. He knows what he's doing. He's a shark in the water. He knows what he's doing. He's up to something, which is what's so cool about it.
Right. Matt Moore says, silver to Amanda, you just bought yourself a champion.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. People are bringing that up about Amanda and Terry, moving in on Amanda. Maybe it would make sense if Terry's target is Daniel and he wants to completely ruin his life. And one thing I noticed, if you kind of slow it down and zoom it in here, it looks like she's giving him the once over. It looks like she's kind of like, hey, he's put together there, that Terry Silver. I wonder if Daniel doesn't like him because he's jealous or something like that, and I'll move on to the next shot. So we see him, he's getting the mic. Now look at this guy. He's just the nicest guy. Wouldn't you love to be around this guy?
Not root for him. I mean, look, he's a nice guy. Look at him. He's got a good smile. Like, he's being nice to this lady. Like, man, I'd be friends with him.
Right. And Melissa says it's possible that's a charity auction. Yeah, because he's a philanthropist, right? That's what he does. We don't know if he still dumps toxic waste. I think that's probably a rough way of saying that. Someone has to deal with pollution problems, right? So he did that, and some people
helping the world out.
He's always been wanting to help the world out. Let's see. The fire specialist says, "I hope Terry Silver gets Amanda and Carmen pregnant."
The ultimate villainy.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, well, he's on a quest, right? He won't lie down until the entire world is somehow genetically connected to him.
The question is, would the baby be born with a ponytail or without a ponytail? Is the real question.
Man. Yes. Talk about dumping toxic waste. I mean,
Kyle had a comment in here that I thought was interesting, and I thought about this as well. I think he's trying to hold a national tournament in the Valley, and it would make sense because he bought up all of the dojos, and that's why you see them in different locations. So he might be trying to get people to come in and try to say, hey, and that's why you see the people with clipboards, which we'll get to later. Like, maybe it's multiple locations and multiple situations. I really like that idea because I think it could really be true. It would up the stakes, right? Especially why you see people in different gis and things later.
Right.
But maybe this is the start of that. Maybe he's trying to get people to buy in, which could be interesting.
Right. And but I mean, look, now we can kind of see the woman on the right. She's kind of running the auction, but I mean, she thinks he's a great guy. And this is a great moment for him to show that he's a great guy. This is I guess he's been, not prominent in the Valley for a while. He's been doing his thing, but now he's coming off, in a big way. He's presenting himself to the world. And maybe it is, Drew. It's exactly what you're saying. He's moving up. He's taken the next step. And it seems like everyone here is enamored with him. It's weird that Amanda is in this shot, she doesn't look at him. She's kind of looking off to the side. And so I don't know if that's like a look of, well, no, I can't believe this guy, or if she's just kind of amused with herself.
She's got to ignore him because otherwise the charm's going to reel her in. And that's really what she can't look at him, But I think the one thing I'm disappointed in is they didn't bust out the ascot. Do you think we're going to get a shot of him wearing an ascot at some point? Because I feel like that would have been a nice touch. Maybe they'll wink at us. The big three will give us a nice wink later.
An ascot in 2022, like, or this is still in like 2019, technically. That would make him too obvious. He's trying to hide in plain sight here. He needs to be a little bit stuffier.
That's true.
Yeah, that would be. I hope somehow that can happen. Well, and it would make sense. That would be absolutely incredible. So Chris, I mean, right here. So this is an auction. We've kind of talked about what might be happening. Could he be auctioning himself off? What do you see Terry Silver's plans being here? Is he just enhancing his image, or is he trying to raise money for a cause, maybe a money laundering cause?
Honestly, I think he's trying to gain some sort of political power. I really don't think that he's stopping here at karate dojos. I think he's trying to gain some sort of actual authority over at least the Valley. And I think he's just trying to put up, the charitable philanthropist, humanitarian front, as we know, and trying to kind of backdoor his way into that. And we know many millionaires and billionaires who do similar things every day. But Terry is, he's the mastermind. He's got all of his gears moving towards a plan that we don't even really know the extent of yet. But my guess is that he's trying to just lay the groundwork for like a clean bill of health for him to maybe run for some sort of political office.
That is amazing. As a fire specialist says, Terry Silver for president. Wouldn't we love that? A bit of Brookie says the silver charm. Let's see. Ben Urban says Terry Silver is a demagogue. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Thank you, Frank. Yeah, it's going to be very fascinating to see what Terry Silver does, because I think, you guys were talking about earlier in this trailer, we start to see like the true potential of Terry Silver coming out. That was stunted in Karate Kid 3. We never really saw that because he lost. But now, I mean, he has so many great qualities, and he's just rich. So, I mean, what can you do? It's going to be really exciting. This was just for comparison's sake, this was the image that came out last week where we see Terry directly trying to schmooze with Amanda. And in this shot, it looks like she's kind of suspicious of him. But this looks like the same event. I got to think, do you guys, yes or no, if you can give it, do you think Terry Silver will try to romantically move in on Amanda?
Yeah, I think he will. I think it's on brand for him. And whether he's successful or not, we'll see. But I think he'll try.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. He will make every effort to destroy anything in Daniel's life, including his marriage.
Yep. I agree.
So the next question from that would be, do you think Amanda will have an affair with him on any level, or do you think she'll rebuff him?
I think Amanda's too smart.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Amanda's too smart. I think she's going to set a trap of her own, honestly.
Interesting.
I agree with that.
I think Amanda's too smart for that.
Yeah. I think she's one of the smartest characters on the show, to Chris's point. And I think we talked about that one of the other streams that we did, and she really is. And I think Daniel's lucky to have her as a partner, because, he wouldn't have his car dealerships if he's off doing all this other stuff. Like, he's very lucky to have her. And I think you get an illusion, or they allude to maybe some trouble in paradise at home. I think maybe it might be a fake out that we get, where maybe she falls for Terry, but I think it'll probably at the end, she'll pull a trap like Chris. I think Chris nailed that. I think that's what'll happen.
I like that. I like that, guys. That's fun.
I like that.
Yeah, I do.
I'm going to use that.
Right. Robert Huswick says he'll definitely try, and if he fails, chloride sludge will be dumped in the Larissa swimming pool.
Chloride Sludge is my Terry Silver tribute metal band, by the way. That's the name.
Great. That's wonderful.
I love that.
Robana says, I think he will manipulate her, Amanda, like he did Daniel. Dude says, no affairs. Cobra Kai shouldn't go full soap opera. And and that's a good point too. I know a lot of people have resisted the idea that, everyone has to be related to Terry Silver or Mike Barnes, or they have to have children somewhere in the show. And I kind of get that viewpoint too.
That's too CW for what we're dealing with here, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Cecilia says, I don't think Amanda will have an affair, but Daniel will get jealous just because Silver hits on her, prey on Daniel's insecurities.
I like that a lot.
I
like that a lot.
Right. Okay, guys, here's the next shot. We've got Terry Silver. Now, Terry, to me, looks like he's kind of styled his ponytail slightly differently. I don't know if you guys sense that at all, or what do you think? Is this just
it's got a little bit of a curl there? It's a little curly.
Little faucet handle there.
Yeah. It does look like a faucet handle, doesn't it? I like it.
Terry.
I think it needs to be wetter though. I think he needs more water. You got to get it real wet, and it's a little dry for my taste here, but it's still looking good. It's higher and tighter though.
So with the ponytail at the end of season 4 in the tournament, All Valley tournament, that looked like it was pretty slicked down. So Drew, that would be more your style.
Yes, you got to have the super slick, like slick ponytail, tight and high, and then I think that's the way to go.
That's awesome.
Squidward's nose, Jay Wiggins says.
That's awesome.
There we go. That's great. So Chris, looking at this, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on Terry Silver, but also your thoughts on this new dojo, kind of like what he's created here, and your thoughts of this, of what he's turned Cobra Kai into.
You know, this, I think the thing that comes to mind for me is this is like the Globo Gym version of Cobra Kai. This is like I don't know. I'm currently rewatching season 1 and I'm going to go all through, and just watching that, you know, Johnny's original dojo in season 1, it really made me nostalgic for something that just came out a few years ago. But the difference between that strip mall dojo and this, it's just like, we are in completely different worlds now. Like this looks like it could be in space, like the space dojo.
Mhm.
It's just incredible what Terry has done in this amount of time to just all of a sudden put this brand out to the entire world, if we believe what he says.
Right. And that's honestly, like, a lot of people have talked about season 5, and like maybe Terry will kind of be defeated by the end of season 5. I look at this and I hope not. Like, I hope this version of Cobra Kai sticks around for a while, and I hope he continues to build his Cobra Kai empire. I would love to see that. Like, I hope this doesn't go away too quickly. But that's just my thoughts. I don't know, Drew. How do you feel about that?
I agree with you. I like that it does look like a spaceship or something. It does remind me a lot of Globo Gym and you know, just versus Average Joe's, which is like the Eagle Fang style of things. But I do like it. I think it's cool because it shows we said our guy finally won. He got what he wanted, and he's got infinite resources, so he's going to pull out all the stops. And what better way to attract students than to have top of the line facilities and top of the line, you know, places to go and equipment and all of this stuff. So it's certainly going to bring in the students, and it's going to make him even more money. It's sort of like printing money in a way, because now he's going to take over. And when you have these other dojos that can't compete on the level that this is, it's just going to crush them. And it's very Terry-esque to go out and do something like that. And now he's bringing in some of these senseis. Like, this place is like a mecca of martial arts. And I think it's pretty cool. I hope it doesn't go away too, to your point, Ken, because I just don't want to see him defeated so quickly. I feel like he's got to be the Palpatine. Like, you keep him going to the end, even if we have a little bit of a sidetrack, I guess.
Right.
We think he maybe loses, but if they're going to have another season, I really hope that he's sort of the final bad guy, not someone else.
Absolutely. And Matt Moore says it reminds me of Drago's gym in Rocky 4, which is great. Review stuff. Shout out to Ken. Love Cobra Cole. Thank you. Everyone check out Cobra Cole. Another cast member, we'll talk about this maybe in a little bit. Kate says, I'm watching Crossing Jordan out of the corner of my eye, and Robin Lively just popped up on screen. That is funny, weird. And we've been talking a lot about Terry Silver. We have Mike Barnes coming back. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on other characters coming back. Like, do you think it's possible they'll bring back Jessica Andrews, who is played by Robin Lively? Or do you think it's getting to be too much for one season and maybe we'll see her in the future?
You know, I think what we need in this season, and I think what Daniel needs, based on some shots of him later on in this trailer, I think what he really needs is Jessica Andrews to show up with some mac and cheese and just sit him down, clean him up, give him some mac and cheese, give him something to focus on for a few hours. And yeah, just no, I really do think that there is a place for any and everyone that has been part of the Miyagi verse within the span of the show. I don't know if that all fits into this season, especially if Barnes has a pretty hefty storyline. But no, I would love to see Jessica Andrews come back. Love to see Snake and Dennis, Julie Pierce, Colonel Dugan. To your point on the last stream, Ken, I would love to see Michael Ironside show back up. So yeah, I welcome all of it, because I trust the big three that they'll do right by those characters and by the story.
Absolutely. And then Drew, I assume, being a fan of Karate Kid 3, you would welcome the return of Jessica Andrews.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she's got to get revenge for, like you said, getting kicked so poorly by Mike Barnes there, and I also would love to see Snake and Dennis in some capacity, especially Sensei Ford. Like, Sensei Ford's awesome. If he was able to come back in the show, I would love to see him back. His character didn't really get much of a time to shine. And like, he's an awesome martial artist. It would be cool to see him have some opportunities to do more in the show too, especially if he had some a part that was not sort of like a side part like he had in Karate Kid 3. Would be awesome.
Absolutely. And everyone, if you haven't seen it, I did this really long interview with Sensei Ford. He's just really an incredible person. Everyone go check that out, and you'll see what I mean. He gave us so many behind the scenes stories of Karate Kid 3. I tried to ask him if he'll be back in Cobra Kai. He wouldn't tell me for sure. So obviously, maybe we'll see him again in the future, but I totally agree, Drew. It would be amazing to have Dennis return. And what's funny is he plays the kind of a villainous guy in Karate Kid 3. And when you meet him in person, he is like he reminds me, he's like Miyagi-esque. He's just so calming. And you just feel kind of at peace when you're talking to him. And you know who else feels at peace? Terry Silver. This is the smile of a man who has accomplished all of his dreams. And I know we've been talking a lot about Terry Silver, but Drew, this is a moment that, I'm very happy to see. I'm happy for the man.
Me too. I mean, look at the smile. There's a combination of, I think someone said psychopath, someone said, narcissist. Like, there's also just a sense of pride in that smile. Look how proud he is of what he's finally accomplished. And there's a little evil in there too. There's a little villainous, a little twinge there, but I'm just happy to see him riding high. And it's cool to finally see the bad guy win a little bit and see what happens. Like Chris said earlier, like the heel. I'm rooting for the heel, and I think it's a good analogy. And it's cool to see where this is going to go, especially the adversity that you've had Daniel and Johnny. Like, they've been fighting each other, but now it's like, all right, now this stuff's really going down. Like, this is next level here. You don't know what you're up against, and you got to bring in a guy like Chosen. But look at that guy. How are you going to beat him? You can't. You can't beat him.
So for a long time, ever since Terry Silver has shown up, people have brought up Mike Barnes. They think of Terry Silver and Mike Barnes as being kind of like one item. And Chris, Aloha Bama says, I believe Barnes will be affected when Silver goes national. Barnes will get involved. So this is an interesting idea. And just kind of, what is your sense of how Mike Barnes will get involved? Will it be this step where he's kind of broadcasting his image to the world, and then that's how Mike Barnes sees him?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's kind of like how in season 1, Johnny would just turn on the TV or the car radio, and Daniel would be there. I think we may have a similar kind of train with Mike Barnes, where he's turning on the TV and it's Terry Silver, and how that affects him. I don't know. I've gone back and forth with whose side he'll be on, the twists and turns. He could be with Terry at one point, then turn on him. He's the wild card in this entire thing, because some people say, well, it's predictable if Barnes comes back and he's good and he sides with Daniel, and it's but then it might also be predictable if he comes back and he's also still just bad, like he's never made any changes in his life. So I think it could really just go either way. My sneaking suspicion is that he's going to come to collect, as Sean Kanan has talked about in interviews. He's probably going to want some sort of stake in this new huge franchise, what he was promised, because he lost because of Terry Silver's coaching. So he probably feels entitled, and how that all shakes out, I guess, that's how the season will play out.
Yeah.
Yes. John Toomey says Barnes is going to be a problem. So that's interesting. And Rabana says, but he's not from California, so he probably returned to his hometown. Yeah, we don't know quite where he's from. We know it took a while for him to get there. He didn't live around LA at the time. But and then yes, Terry Johnson, it looks like Mike is married. He's wearing a wedding band. So we have been talking about these villains for a while, but the trailer throws us back into the realm of Johnny Lawrence pulling up in his minivan, his Eagle Fang minivan, who might be an Uber driver now. So what do you guys think of this?
Dude, like this is awesome. And it's why, like you mentioned, Chris, while you're rewatching the first season again, like part of the reason why I love this show so much right away was just how awesome William Zabka was and plays the character of Johnny Lawrence. Like he's perfect in terms of like the seriousness, the comedy, and everything. He's an awesome actor, and like this scene in particular was hilarious to me, and I love the idea of him being an Uber driver. It's so on brand for him, and it's just like him, and the way that he's treating the people. It's a perfect blend of comedy, and like the show doesn't take itself too seriously, and I like that about it. There's a perfect like lightness to it, and this is awesome. I don't know how long it is, but I'd watch a whole sideshow of him being an Uber driver. It would be awesome if there was a series for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. William Zabka definitely, like, he brings the levity, but then he can really tug at your heartstrings, and
Mhm.
some of the most emotional moments of the show have been involving him, but also just some of the absolute funniest moments of the show. And I think this is great because it's Johnny plus technology plus other people, like out in the wild, like strangers that he has to interact with. And just he's definitely come a long way. He's a character who's grown a lot, but he's still, he's kind of a doofus, at his core. And I love Johnny, but as my wife always says when we're watching, this man is embarrassing. Like,
Yes, Melissa says season 4, he says, "What's an Uber?" Season 5, he's an Uber driver. So that's great. Thank you for pointing that out.
I like that.
Okay, so he basically pulls up, and these are, I guess this will be his fare, and he's like, "Hey, Michael," and then she's like, "It's Michaela," and then he's like, "Whatever." So, so
He's awesome.
so this whole, and I just, it's a quick scene. It's funny. I agree with you guys. Like, William Zabka is so good, and I think that he's known for these villainous 80s roles, but he just plays the spectrum so amazingly, and I'm glad that we have a showcase now where we can see his range, and he's just really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so be honest, guys, like, if he showed up as your Uber driver, would you get in?
In that car, I don't know. I'd be questioning it. I'd be like, "Who is this guy?"
no, not if I smell the alcohol, probably.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Right.
1 star.
Right. Wax On says, "I think this is after Mexico. There's a mini sombrero." So this is another point too. In the last trailer, we touched on this idea of Miguel going to Mexico. He's going to try to find his father. This trailer almost maybe kind of skips over that whole thing. So it looks like this might be after that. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think that's interesting because we had speculated how long is the Mexico storyline, and is it very long? And it might only be a couple episodes for all we know. And some other folks had said in the chat last time that maybe you get a lot of Miguel there for a bit, and we don't know. But in a way, it almost seems like it won't be that long. And I wouldn't be upset about that. I'd be fine with that. I think if it takes like a 10 episode detour, I don't think I'd want to watch that. But I think if it had some character development and whatnot, and then they bring them back to the valley, I think it would be a nice little detour for a minute.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed. Yeah, I could see it being a similar amount of time to Daniel being in Okinawa, which a lot of people thought, well, is Daniel going to be gone for like half the season? And it was only a few episodes. So I could definitely see it being just very early in the season, maybe even in a single episode. We get that Mexico trip, and then we're back, and Johnny's driving around Ubering.
Right. And it's interesting for him because he does have this entrepreneurial spirit. Like, he's had a taste of being in business for himself, and he wants to continue it. It looks like, it's like he doesn't want to get a normal job, or maybe it hasn't worked out for him, interviewing for jobs, but he does have that entrepreneurial spirit, but he's coming from being a sensei. And I don't know, so Chris, in this trailer, do you get the sense that Johnny has sort of reluctantly gone away from being a sensei, or do you think he's, after the whole Mexico experience, he's fine with not being a sensei anymore?
I guess it really depends on kind of where at this point things are at with his 2 sons. I did say his 2 sons because, let's be honest, Miguel is his son for all intents and purposes, and I guess it really depends on where his head's at with that. If he's at peace with kind of, bringing Miguel back, he has Robbie in his life now. Maybe he's okay not being a sensei, because what he got out of being a sensei was a repaired relationship with Robbie and this new relationship with Miguel. And then, of course, the relationship to Carmen. He might be he might be okay with not being a sensei, or maybe he's, just a part of him that's wounded won't allow him to, it's his stubborn nature won't allow him to go back to that, at least at first. So perhaps he's trying to fill time before he can eventually come around to it again, which part of him probably believes that he will. But when you have someone like Terry Silver, who has essentially just taken over your small business and scaled up at just an enormous rate, it's like, what else? What are you gonna do? Like, come on, like Terry Silver is about to buy Uber at this rate, like.
Right. So there's really, I mean, it's sort of like that was his idea, but there's nothing he can do right now, right? He doesn't have the resources. Drew, do you get the sense, one of the things I've admired about Johnny is that he's very straight up. Like, no matter what, he's straight up. He tells you what he thinks. He's not trying to like deceive you in any way. Do you think it means something to him, that agreement that he made, like with Kreese about Cobra Kai? Or do you think this is his decision regarding leaving this is separate from that, and it's more of just, well, I can't do it anymore?
I think it's both. I do think that would he honor the agreement? Probably, because like you said, he's a pretty honest and just straight up guy. But at the same time, I feel like he probably thinks, I don't need this anymore. I've got to kind of take care of these other things. And I think he is a pretty genuine guy. And I think that it's easy to call him like a loser, or, oh, he's a failure and all this stuff. Like he feels like he's down on his luck. He built this business, it got taken away from him and all this stuff. But I do think he's a pretty honest and genuine person. Like when you saw the stuff with him and Sam, all of the advice he was giving Sam the previous season, he was being very genuine. And I think he's a very direct dude. Whereas like, I think when we contrast that with the way Daniel was handling a lot of those things, he has this like air about him where you have to do this. You've got to be like Mr. Miyagi. You've got to do this. And I think there's a lot of this breath of fresh air you get when you get a character like Johnny Lawrence that's just, I am who I am, man. And I like that about him. And that's why I've always gravitated more towards him than the Daniel side of things. I think when I watched the original series, I was always on the original trilogy. I was always on Daniel's side because he's a good guy. You want him to win and everything. But there was something about a complex character like Johnny Lawrence that really drew me in. And I saw some comments in here right from the pilot. When I watched that, I thought, man, this guy's really interesting. He's multi-layered, and William Zabka brings a lot of that to the character. So does the writing. But I think that's what's so cool about it. And I could see him walking away and just saying, screw this. Like, I don't need this anymore. I got to take care of these guys. I got to get Miguel back. I got to take care of the situation with Robbie. He's a very genuine dude. And I think that's why I think I like him so much. But I agree with what Chris said too. Definitely.
Absolutely. And Alan says when he finds out Silver cheated, he won't honor the agreement. And that's, we know Tori's conflicted about that. And will that bomb drop during this season? I don't know. Or will Silver be able to keep it concealed? That's kind of like that's an interesting thing. The fire specialist has a prediction for us. Episode prediction layout: Mexico Story episodes 1 through 3. Water Park Fight episode 4. Miguel versus Robbie episode 5. Daniel versus Terry Silver episode 7. Daniel's Black Eye. The mini tournament episode 9. And the final showdown versus Terry episode 10. How interesting.
Final showdown sounds so epic, doesn't it? I like how you put that, fire specialist.
Yes, 100%. And as we go back into the 80s, man, he managed to get a minivan with a cassette player, and he's putting in a cassette tape, probably to play 80s music. And I don't know. I guess it smells like beer in here. That's what he says. But like, and they look pretty confused. But he looks like he's having fun. He just like rips out of there. They get thrown back, and he's driving around the valley with I said this in my other video. I so badly want to see this in real life.
Yeah, I do.
Like, I want to see this driving around. I hope this car is out there and they didn't paint over it. I hope it's out there and we can see this. It's
like the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. You spot it on the street.
Yes, 100%. And Chris, I mean, it's like a blast from the past. Do you think, obviously it's played for laughs that Johnny's kind of stuck in the 80s and everything, but, Drew and I actually did the show, we talked about the 80s, like 80s movies and stuff like that. And is Johnny maybe like a lot of us who kind of are stuck in the 80s. We love 80s music and movies and looks and everything like that. And could Johnny be representing a whole portion of the population here?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I love that stream you guys did, by the way.
Oh,
That was a
thank
great
you.
stream just on 80s, basically 80s culture, and kind of our cultural fixation on it now. And I've always been interested in this because Back to the Future is my favorite movie. So,
Mm,
and that's an 80s movie with nostalgia for the 50s.
Mhm.
And just the idea of how these things go in these like 30-year cycles. But really, every generation looking back with rose tinted glasses, like that's just going to go on until the end of time. Like, you know, at a certain point, people are going to look back at this generation as the golden years. So I think Johnny is just one of the people that don't have that perspective, and he thinks, oh wait, my stuff is special. You know, my
right.
stuff is special just all across the board. That's what he thinks. And to some degree, that's true, but every generation, every era has their own special kind of unique attributes about it. The 80s music and movies still are influential today. You know, who knows what, you know, the legacy of current generations and things like that. But people like Johnny exist totally. They're they're usually in YouTube comments. Um, which is no offense to anyone, but yeah, I mean, we're all like that with something. I think you know, a lot of my favorite music tends to be from the 80s and 90s, so it's something you got to be aware of. Like, yeah, we're all biased in some way.
Absolutely. Mackley says he repping the boomers, which is great. Robert Huswick says Johnny represents the arrested development in all of us. And Matt Moore says born free in 83. That's great. Kate, 80s kids are not boomers. That's hilarious. Well, Drew, talking about Johnny, reflecting on that discussion about the 80s, is that why we love Johnny? Is that why, like everything that Chris was talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, is that why this works?
I think so, and I think Chris nailed a lot of it. It's that nostalgia, and we said before, right? He's not afraid to just be himself. He likes what he likes. He doesn't care what people think. You know, it messes up Michaela's name, whatever. You know,
Right.
he doesn't care, and I think all of us kind of wish we could be a little like Johnny. I think in that you just that ignorance of social convention, just say what you want, and not in an offensive way, right? He's not offensive to anybody. He's just or not trying to be. But I think he's just who he is, and I think that's cool. And I love his fixation on the 80s. It's very on brand with the character, and I think it gives the show a good bridge because it we've talked about this before, right? Where you have shows that sort of recycle these characters, and it's like, oh, remember that guy, remember this guy, remember this guy, and they just throw people at you nonstop, and they have every cameo in the book, and there's no reason for it, right? I think there's a lot of narrative reasons for why Johnny does what he does, and it ties into the story. And I think it does it so well. It's not just that he likes 80s music and that's like a thing for nothing, right? He's from that era and it plays into who he is and it permeates the rest of his character and all the other ways that the writers write for him. So I like that it's not just I don't know, just like some random thing about him. It's kind of who he is. So I don't know. Maybe hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And you know, that's what I love about the show because, you know, they pay homage to that, but they also bring up those things. Like for instance, at the end of season 1, when we actually see Daniel go back to Miyagi-Do, and it's like, oh wow, that's great. It's such an iconic location from the first Karate Kid movie. And then our next shot is actually at Miyagi-Do, where Daniel is saying he's closing it down. So I guess this makes sense. It looks like you know, in this shot at least, you know, we have some of the people. Eli's there, but Dimitri's there. So that's interesting because I think he's gone in one of the later shots.
Yeah.
But so do you think Daniel's being truthful here? Because obviously at the end of season 4, he had that moment with Chosen, like, we're not going to let this happen. But he's turning around and saying to everyone, hey, we're shutting down Miyagi-Do. I don't know. What do you think, Chris? What do you think's happening here with Daniel?
I'm almost suspicious that it's maybe a bit performative at this stage. Like, you know, this is just how the plan has to go. We have to lay low and kind of plot and stand around the kind of the in the war room, as we'll see later. I think that, this may just be, and he may need to deceive all of his students and really make them believe that, Miyagi-Do is shutting down in order for whatever plan they have to will take place. So if this is actually, sincere, and it's actually Daniel saying, okay, we got to shut down and blah, blah, I think this is maybe going to be, resolved within an episode. I think we'll be back up and running in some form by the end of it.
Right. And so this, you would say maybe that this is maybe like episode 1 or 2. This is probably like right up front, right?
Right. Yeah. You could tell by Hawk's hair. I mean,
yeah.
He's still, it's still very short. So this is probably still right after the tournament.
Yes, that's a great point. And so here he's still saying that it's shut down. And then Sam says, how can this be the plan? And then he replies and he says that, with Johnny gone, it's up to him to fix things. So I don't know, but it kind of sounds like to me this is while Johnny's in Mexico. Drew, would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I think so. And I think what's cool is we're going to see that as much as Johnny and Daniel opposed each other, especially the first couple seasons, I think they do need each other. And I think that's kind of a cool thing that we'll see here. As much as they are polar opposites, I think they really did learn to kind of work together. And I think that they both have really great qualities and they sort of make each other better together than apart. As much as I side with Johnny's philosophies and the way that he does things, I do think it's like the yin and the yang. And I think they're a good team. And I think that's where it's going to start to be that downfall of him. Without Johnny, he's not going to know how to go up against Silver and what's going on. And I think maybe you start to see him unravel a little bit as this happens. He gets a little too involved. And I think Johnny's carefree attitude and sort of just get it done and do whatever is what Daniel needs. And I think Daniel's going to probably overdo it or try to, I don't know. I think he's going to get messed up throughout this process as we start to see later in the trailer. But I think it's probably while he's in Mexico, to your point. And I bet you this is right after, might even be some of the opening shots that we see.
Yeah. And really great point there. And it makes me wish we could have seen what Mr. Miyagi could have done with training both Daniel and Johnny together. It would be interesting to see those lessons.
Yeah.
And it's too bad we never got anything like that. You know, it never worked out that we saw that. But Matt Moore says maybe it's a test to see which of his students want to continue the fight. Delina, sorry guys, I should not supposed to be here, but I'm your biggest fan from Miyagi-Do. Cool, thank you. It's great to have you. Great to have all you guys here. Robana says, I hope it's Terry that gave him the black eye. I want to see Daniel struggle. Yes, and we will see that black eye very soon. So this next shot, it does. So this almost gives us confirmation that Johnny has been in Mexico because we see that, whatever that is, that figure with the sombrero on his dash. And then there's this business guy, I'm sure he just wants to be shuttled around and try to make a call on his phone. And then in this shot, Johnny's actually like drumming on the steering wheel, which is pretty hilarious. And so I don't know, Chris, if I were to guess, this could be like a kind of like a quick cut kind of humorous montage of, Johnny driving around and kind of completely failing at being an Uber driver. What do you think? What do you think of this, this whole sequence? I know we've talked about it before.
That's a great point. Johnny driving Uber screams montage. It really does. And I guess we can all just speculate as to, what the soundtrack would be. I'm sure they would come up with something great for that. But yeah, I love a Johnny, anytime we've gotten a training montage, especially just these really funny comedic moments that William Zabka has in those. He's kicking at the water last season and, breaking down the mailbox. So I think we'll get plenty of stuff in that vein right here. So I totally agree. This like screams montage.
So Drew, do you think that this guy is the guy who gives another great shot, Johnny, the absolute 1-star ratings?
If that guy could give 0-star, I think he'd probably give a 0-star. But yes, I do think that that's probably who it was, especially after him plugging his ear as he's trying to listen to whatever business phone call it is.
But okay, so this is a question I asked in my video. It was like, if you saw this on Uber, look at that profile image. That's your driver. You had that little icon like moving around on your map. I mean, How could you not select it?
Yeah, and how could you be upset if a guy with that picture shows up blasting 80s music? Come on, you know what you're getting when you let that guy pick you up.
Yeah, you opted into whatever that experience is. Like, let's be honest here.
Quick says that phone looks destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, it's funny too, because I don't know what's in there under his screen protector, but I know we saw some clips of Mexico where Johnny's like fighting some surfer on the beach, and it's just what did that go through in Mexico? I wonder, that phone.
Somehow the screen still works.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so he complains that the feedback was that it smelled like beer. He's like, yeah, a-hole, there was beer. Oh, that's great. Okay. All right, Chris. Now, Drew and I are going to, the first thing we're going to mention is just like the omnipresence of Terry Silver. The fact that this is like a disciplined group of students, a massive group of students in this new dojo that you so eloquently described earlier, but we did not see this wonderful, it's like this digital mural or this lit up mural of Terry Silver. Look at that beautiful shot. He's looking over his shoulder. No matter where you look in this dojo, he's everywhere. And so tell me how you think this works as far as a karate dojo, and is him being in love with himself, does that mean everyone else is going to be in love with him too?
The way I see it, this season of Terry's just kind of terror over the valley and possibly more, Cobra Kai under him is going to become a little bit like the NWO in the late 90s in that.
Oh yeah.
At first, it's going to start out with a small elite group of Cobras, and then one by one, everyone in their path will get beat and then eventually join them. So you're just going to have a bunch of Cobras walking around. You're going to have the merchandise everywhere. You're going to have people walking around school wearing the merchandise, people walking around at the mall wearing the merchandise. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to take over. Every karate dojo will be bought out by Terry Silver. And I have a lot of, thoughts, and I would love to hear you guys' thoughts about the senseis of the other dojos and some of the things we see later. But I think it just kind of becomes where Terry is that omnipresent Hollywood Hulk Hogan-esque figure in that you cannot escape him. He is everywhere. And if you are in the Valley and if karate in the Valley is as big as football in Texas, then you're going to be seeing a lot of Terry. And that's for sure.
Chris, you have no idea how that last point you made, just how excited I am to see that happen in season 5.
Oh yeah.
No idea. Jay Wiegand says, what a backdrop. John Toomey says, a Delta Force. Jay says, the eyes in the mural follow you. Yes. So yeah, what do you think, Drew? What's happening here?
I'm just happy to see that, the school is thriving here. I mean, I don't really want Cobra Kai to win. I just want Terry to win. Like I don't like the villains. I like Terry, but I'll say I agree with the mural. I'm still waiting on where to buy that because it's going to go on the wall right back here as soon as I get it. But in all seriousness, right? If you take yourself out of, we know that Terry's a bad guy. If you put yourself in the Valley, like, you probably don't know that he is a bad guy. You probably don't, because he maintains an image. Yes, he was dumping toxic waste. He had a PR team that helped people understand, oh, well, this was for the environment, right? It's Dynatox. We're helping the world. And you would have seen maybe what happened. They cheated at the tournament. There was probably some reason for that. We saw, I think, on an iPad Dimitri had last season, there was the apology and this philanthropy about him. So you might think he's actually a really good guy if you're in the Valley and you think, hey, this is awesome. This great place is open. This guy's putting himself out here for the students. He wants to teach this knowledge to them. If you have a kid, you might want them to be here because he's almost a celebrity in a way. And especially since they've got this prestige and they've won the tournament, it's kind of a big deal. So unless you actually know that he's a villain, you probably think, man, I want to take my kids and train with Sensei Terry Silver and his group of amazing senseis. They're going to learn the best karate. They're going to be better. Like, you want the best for your kid or your whoever, right? So I think there's an angle there that I get it. Like, I get where they're coming from. Obviously, as a Terry Silver fan, I get it. But at the same time, if you're in the show, it doesn't surprise me that people would want to go there, I think.
Right. You know, can I throw a crazy idea out at you guys and just let me know what you think? Do you think it's possible that Cobra Kai and like building this dojo is not Terry Silver's end game here? Do you think there's another plan beyond this?
Yes.
Very well could be.
I do.
Interesting.
Well, Chris, you brought up the politics thing earlier.
Mhm.
Maybe there's
Yeah.
something there where he wants to get involved. And I think the dojo is like a means to an end because he wants to ruin Daniel's life. Like and what better way to do? Okay, I've got to open these dojos. I guess I got to do that now. I guess I got to just buy up everything. I guess I got to crush this guy. It's just what he has to do. And there's probably other things that he wants to do too. But I think, yeah, I think all bets are off. I do think that there could be something bigger in the works.
In the lead up to season 4, I had speculated that maybe what Terry was doing, you know, throughout all that time, maybe he had developed his own form of cryptocurrency called Quicksilver. And I would still love for that to be on the table. So
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
It's fitting.
Cobra Kai
he
Kid.
should be controlling currency.
I totally agree. Terry Silver, man, we have so fewer problems if Terry Silver were running everything, I think. Drew, the Cobra Kai Kid, is in the house.
Hey,
Great
Drew.
to see you. Thanks for watching. Yes, this hat was given to me by Drew, the Cobra Kai Kid. So
Nice.
we shot some cool stuff with a lot of the people actually from Cobra Kai back in June, and that will still be coming out soon, but definitely stay tuned. There's a lot of great stuff there as well. Okay, guys, here's the next shot. So this is a shot that kind of pans across, and we see the bigger characters, Devin, interesting, Tori, and Kyler. We see as the shot kind of dollies left. So this is something that people are wondering about, like Devin being in Cobra Kai. And I know we're going to see some changes in her gi going forward, and she's going to endure some pain. But what do you make of Devin, you know, who seemed like a very sort of eager, positive, bright student for Eagle Fang and Johnny? She has now become part of Cobra Kai. What do you make of that? Chris, what do you think?
You know, as soon as I saw the photo that they released of Devin in the black gi, I thought, oh, well, this makes perfect sense. Just based on her personality and what we saw of her in the last season, it would be kind of weird if she just kind of migrated over to Miyagi-Do and didn't really have, you know, the kind of arc that a character like her probably deserves. So it makes sense that she ends up at this, you know, intense Globo Gym version of Cobra Kai. It really interests me that the way they brought in Kenny, and just to look at where he is now, and also the way they brought in Devin. Kenny was brought in as this, you know, just kind of innocent kid and the victim of bullying, but Devin was brought in as like, you know, she's hell on wheels. Like she'll tear your head off right from day one. So I can only imagine you get some Cobra Kai teaching in her, like, whew, like, man, like she could be one of the main, you know, villainous kids in future seasons if she doesn't have some sort of arc to get her out of there.
Yeah. Alan says she joined another dojo and they got bought out by Cobra Kai, which is an interesting point. And I think we'll get to that in a little bit. Sorry, I had that up for a second, dude. I think Terry should become senator. Senator Silver has a nice ring to it. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. So let's see what's next. I think Chris makes some excellent points about Devin. I mean, yeah, her personality would seem to go with Cobra Kai. I mean, she did say in the tournament, right, she wanted to win. Like that was her thing. She wanted to win. And that's an attitude I think Terry Silver would like. We see some other kid getting thrown to the ground by Kenny. And then here's a shot. Everyone's kind of watching the sparring match. And Terry Silver is there, standing there, walking slowly. You can see he's turning and looking over his shoulder in a mirror image to his wall mural. It's kind of a beautiful thing, isn't it? So again, this is it seems like, Drew, that Kenny here has become kind of a rising star. Like they had a connection in season 4, but he's really kind of developing. It seems like he's winning in class. We saw him, Drew, kind of being picked on by Anthony. Then he did a heel turn and decided to go full on aggressive.
Yep.
And where do you see Kenny's path going now?
Yeah, I think it's going to go full on even further because Terry's going to appeal to that side of him, especially at the end when Robbie was trying to appeal to him in the previous season when Robbie was never really into Cobra Kai. Like he was trying to be bad, but he couldn't really do it because at the end of the day, he was a good person. And I'm not saying that Kenny isn't, but I think Kenny was in this situation where Anthony and the bullies just put him into the corner and he had to get hard and he had to harden his personality. And the way that Cobra Kai appealed to all of those things and Kreese and really Terry appealed to that side of him, I think it's going to take him down that path. And I think he seems the type also that he's looking for guidance, and Terry is that person that's giving him that guidance, whether it's the right guidance or not. It's definitely not, but I think he's probably going to get drunk on that power a little bit, especially since he was bullied so hard that he wants to kind of get back at those kids. And look, there's something about being in this type of position of power. You get drunk on it. And I think the way that Cobra Kai is set up and the fact that he's having success, it just makes him want to do it more. I thought he was a really interesting character. I know there's a lot of people that said, hey, I wish they didn't show us so much of him the previous season. I think they have a hard time. We've said this before, juggling all the things that are going on. It's a short show. It's not an hour. And at first I wasn't sure what to make of his character, but I kind of liked it by the end. I thought it was interesting. It was different. And I liked where it's going. And I'm kind of curious to see if he will become like the #1 student now, especially with, Robbie potentially leaving, it seems, and all the other stuff going on. They need sort of a #1. And if Tori leaves or whatever, maybe it's going to be Kenny. I think it would be interesting to see. It's fitting. I would like it actually to see where it goes.
I would love to see what the dynamic is if Kenny's brother Sean comes into the picture this season, because I've been dying to see him ever since we saw him in season 3. I guess it's just a matter of when and if Terry gets a hold of Sean, and if Sean is able to have a conversation with Robbie maybe before he has his conversation with Terry, or if Kenny recruits him and brings him right into Cobra Kai, because like that is there are so many possibilities right there. He sees what Cobra Kai has done to his innocent little brother, and maybe he goes the other way, or maybe he decides, well, I need to look after my brother. I need to figure out what's going on here. Maybe Kenny helps out Robbie and Miyagi-Do. There's so many possibilities with that character. Sean, rather. Maybe Sean helps out. I'm just really excited to see if they incorporate him into the story and how that dynamic kind of plays out.
Do you think that there's a chance that if, let's say, his brother does come out and starts to try to get him out of Cobra Kai, Terry gets him thrown back in juvenile, lockup? Because he could, right? I mean, he has the type of power. I think that could be an interesting angle that Terry takes, right? He's got the power in the Valley. He could frame him for another crime and get him thrown back in jail or something. That would be very on point for him too.
Yeah, 100%. I love that, Drew.
That's totally Terry.
Just Terry being Terry.
Absolutely. And K-Lou says, I pity the guy that Kenny just punched. Yeah, he looks like he's in a bit of pain. And then there's like this other side. So once we get out of the dojo, it's all happy. Like, let's sign up for Cobra Kai.
He's learned so much from Terry already.
I know.
Yeah.
Just that code switch.
Do you think that this whole Cobra Kai thing, like parents would be like okay with this? Like they are going full contact, brutal training here. And we'll see some of that soon, but this seems like just a legal nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, for kids, but maybe not for Terry. Terry can, as Drew just said, Terry can manipulate.
Well, this is why I think Terry is trying to gain some sort of political power over the Valley.
I love that.
No, I mean, it's interesting because we don't know. like we haven't seen them going Quicksilver method yet. We saw it in the other trailer, but the parents weren't there. That seemed like a situation where that was, hey, after hours. It's, it's the Cobra Kai after dark is what that was.
Oof.
And when you keep the place open after 10 p.m., that's the kind of stuff they're doing, hitting the lead pipe dummy and all that stuff. Whereas the sparring, yes, it's pretty intense, but maybe the parents might say, "Oh, that's kind of tough," and then Terry says, "Just trust me. It's it's to help him out or something." He's charismatic enough maybe to convince them. But you're right; it is a legal nightmare.
Right. By the way, Warren says totally Terry. It's a great name for a spin-off sitcom.
Dude, sign me up, Warren.
Oh, I'd love that. That's great. Yeah, I would be there in a second.
That's awesome.
Okay. So speaking of Cobra Kai, we've got Carmen here, and she's checking her mail at the apartment, and she comes across this. Now, this is interesting. It's like a flyer. Maybe there's like a card. Maybe something's on the back. Like, you should check us out. So this could be like just a blanket mass mailing. Terry Silver definitely has the resources for that, where he'd accumulate an address list of every kid between 12 and 18 in the Valley and sends out like a flyer. But this also could be something else. This could be directed at Miguel. Do you think Terry Silver and Cobra Kai will try to get Miguel again? What do you think, Chris?
Well, that's actually the invitation to my birthday party. Actually, went to Party City, and yeah, no, I wish they had those, but no, that's the first thing I thought of is, yeah, they're trying to get at Miguel, trying to plant something in his mind, and he, how he comes back from Mexico, it's his mind state. He could be very susceptible to the influence of Terry, just like Daniel in Karate Kid 3. So I could totally see the elements of that. We saw a lot of that with Robbie, in the last season, and I think we can see a lot of that with Miguel potentially. But I think he'll eventually be able to overcome all of that.
Right. Well, now Rabana says probably just a flyer. Where would he get Carmen's address from? Well, I mean, I don't know, Drew, what you think about this, but like Terry's all powerful.
Yeah.
Like, if he wants to
Unlimited
know
resources.
Yeah.
I
This
mean,
is this is Rabana. This is Terry Silver we're talking about.
he's got databases that he can tap into. He's got Willie
Yeah.
Cole, right? I mean,
if Kreese could find Tori's well, no, that's she actually had it on her sign up, so I forgot.
that's true.
But yeah, like, this is Terry. He could probably access your cell phone right now without you knowing. Like,
Yeah.
it's Terry Silver. Like, he's got his own version of Lucius Fox working on all of this stuff.
I like that.
Just
I
in the
like
back.
that. I think actually Ben Urban made a really good comment here. Terry Silver is just winding Miguel Diaz up and getting out of the way. Like, I totally agree with you, Ben, because Terry knows how to manipulate people, right? And he knows exactly what to do. And he sees exactly what you said. Like, Miguel's in a rough spot. He's going to have a messed up, head right now from coming back from Mexico. He's in the middle of this drama with Robbie and Johnny and his mom. He's really confused. The Tori situation, the Sam situation. Like, he's got a lot going on right now. And Terry knows, hey, let me just wind him up. Like you said, I think you nailed it. Like, I think he could be an X factor. Just see what happens. Get him riled up. He might wreck things himself. Like, Terry's like the type of guy, right? It's like a mob boss. He doesn't actually do the crime himself. I mean, I guess other than bribing the official, which he did himself. But for the most part, you can't really pin the crimes on him. He manipulates other people to do his dirty work for him, which I find kind of interesting. And I really love that idea, Ben. I think that's an awesome comment.
Yes. Ben says thank you to Drew.
You're
And then
Thank you.
and right. And I love, that's such a great line. And that's exactly how Terry works, right? Terry is the puppet master. And so now here we get to some interesting shots. And I need your guys' help on this. What is happening here? He's talking, and at this time he's saying that Cobra Kai has more students than ever. That's what he's saying here. And he's right in front of his own mural. And he's walking in front of these senseis, but they're not like the ones we see later that are dressed all in black. Like, these senseis are wearing separate gis. And this guy in front here, who I think we'll see fight Chosen later,
Right.
the back of his gi is cutting edge karate. That's what it says. So I'm thinking maybe it's like a one-off karate dojo location in the Valley. What do you guys think is going on here? Chris, what do you think?
At first glance, it just kind of seems like Terry, well, he clearly assembled them all here, through means of force, because it seems like, just judging from Cutting Edge Karate Sensei's body language, he's got his arms crossed. I think he probably is telling them, I'm buying all your dojos and you're going to come work for me at Cobra Kai if you can pass a test or something along those lines. And whether or not they're receptive to that, I guess, remains to be seen. But I could easily see all of them storming out. And that's when Terry calls in reinforcements. We do have that scene later with Chosen surrounded by all of those senseis, which is another one where I'm just like, I cannot pin down what is happening here, because it could just go so many different ways. And I'm really curious about the dynamic between Terry and these senseis that he seems to be kind of muscling out of their own dojos.
Okay, Chris, you just said some amazing stuff right there. All right. And let me say this and let me get your thoughts. What do you think that in this line of senseis that Terry's talking to, Chosen is there and he's in his gi, and they're trying to play a game with Terry, like maybe Chosen has opened his own dojo,
right,
that has a different name, and that scene we see with Chosen later is like that test, like, and where Chosen will win, but Terry doesn't know exactly who Chosen is yet.
Right. How would he know? How would he know who Chosen is? So that's an excellent point. Like, that could very well be what we are seeing here from the same scene.
But so Drew, if that's the case, I mean, that's that's almost Terry level sort of like manipulation on Daniel and Chosen's part. Do you think that that's possible?
Yeah, I do, because I think Chosen is the one person I think that has the capacity to go toe to toe with Terry, and I think Chosen knows, obviously, from Karate Kid 2, he's been around Sato and his uncle and all these other situations, right? He's trained military people himself. Like, he's got the goods to go after Terry. Now, I still think Terry has more experience than him in some of this stuff just because of what he's been doing. But I certainly think that that's absolutely a mind game that maybe they could play. And I think there's another awesome comment in here. Kyle McKay says, I think he's challenging the other senseis for their dojos. And I love the idea of like a Fast and the Furious, like pink slips kind of race. Like, maybe there's a tournament, and I love what you said, Kyle. It's like, I love what if they were like fighting each other just so they could win the dojos out. But I think there's another one too. He talks about like the properties, and maybe they bought the properties and maybe they're getting shut down. So it's like, hey, these are going to be this, like you said, do you guys have what it takes to be Cobra Kai? Do you want to be Cobra Kai? And maybe with the lack of massive, brutal beating, but I think it could be interesting. But I love the idea of what you said, and you guys nailed that mind game that Chosen and Daniel might be playing. That would be such a cool scene. And he wouldn't know who he is. How would he know who he is?
And I think Daniel is fully capable of that plan, because just from watching season 1 again, I'm kind of seeing some elements of some Terry-esque behavior in Daniel, in him getting Johnny's rent raised, for example, going to Zarkarian and trying to buy the strip mall, and then that turning into the rent being raised on Johnny. And then, Daniel goes home and celebrates. Yeah, I just got Cobra Kai shut down. That is like maybe Daniel learned a little bit from Terry back in the day, because that's a very like, hey, I'm going to make some calls, make things happen, rub some elbows, bribe some people, so there is a little bit of like Terry said last season, maybe, there's a little bit of Cobra Kai in you, and that's not something you want to admit. And I think Daniel is fully capable of not matching Terry, but at least, emulating aspects of how Terry manipulates people.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Of course, if we're talking about chess, we have to talk about Sato, and as Matt reminds us, Sato bad at karate. Video on that way, thank you. Yeah, what do you guys think? If that's true, then Terry's the best. Okay, so we have this shot, and I want to ask you guys about Drew, we were talking about the last shot, and Terry, he's doing something with those other senseis. He might have bought them out. But here it looks like we have a shot with the new senseis. We're going to see them a bit. They seem to be around Sensei Kim a lot. But this seems to be his new teaching force. Those other senseis we saw with the different colored gis, they're not here. We don't see them here. And in fact, I don't think we ever see them in a shot, teaching the students. So this is a different crew. What do you think is happening here? Or what do you think has happened?
I think this is another one where maybe they're trying to just teach them and show them, like, here's the crew here. Like, I think it's the group that got off the plane, if I had to guess, because it looks sort of like the ones that got off the plane. I don't see the eye patch guy in here, but I also have bad vision, so maybe I need an eye patch. But I can't see that person there. But I think it's probably them instructing the students, and it's another angle, right, that we get. Or I also don't know if some of these places are different facilities. Like, are they traveling around to different locations too? Because we see the Cobra Kai logo out back, and yes, there's the lights and it looks kind of similar, but I'm wondering a lot when I see some of these shots, are these different places, or is it all the same dojo? Because they bought up all these places. You saw the coffee creamers on the table there. Is that one of those things where maybe they're showing us a bunch of different locations and how they're traveling around to try to teach people at different students? And we're probably going to see a lot more of them. I've been thinking about that a lot when we see a lot of these different students and shots.
Yeah, that's a great point. There is a dojo later in the trailer that kind of looks like just a makeshift Cobra Kai dojo, because it looks like it just got taken over, maybe. And they just put up like a banner real quick. So yeah, I guess like this is the main headquarters. I think we've all kind of settled in on that idea. This is probably the main dojo, but I think a lot of those are probably still going to be like in the process of being taken over and rebranded. So interesting to kind of see a shot of that later.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay, I'm back.
Before it was a little robotic.
Very strange. I think it said I was on Wi-Fi, but I'm on a landline. Very odd. So guys, okay, yeah, I loved all your guys' thoughts on that. We are going to now go to this.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, I saw this and I'm like, thank you.
Man.
Terry Silver revealed. Like, this is him. This is his natural state. This is how we want to see him. Chris, you coined the brilliant term tofu Terry. And that is long behind us now. Like, we do not see tofu Terry. We see terrible Terry. We see terrific Terry. We see, it's
totally
amazing.
Terry.
Totally Terry. Yeah. Which will be a great new sitcom coming soon on Netflix. So he's getting out at an airplane hangar in front of planes. We can see this. He's walking out super stretched long. Man, this is Terry.
What a badass.
Thank you guys. I have to thank John, Josh, and Hayden. Amazing. Thank you for making this happen. This didn't have to happen, everyone. In fact, the odds of this happening in a Karate Kid reboot series were probably at 1%, but it happened. We're watching it right now. Anyway,
yeah.
So how does this strike you, Chris?
Well, I mean, Terry Johnson in the chat just said it all. Fans self. This was one of the first things in the trailer when I first watched it that I was just like, oh yeah, all right, here we go. Like, it's just like, this is everything you could possibly want as a Terry Silver fan, just right here. Like, I don't even need to see the season now. Like, I could just
You're good.
Just give us the gif of Terry walking out of this limo with that turtleneck and those shades and that chain. It's just a thing of beauty.
Right. And Terry Johnson follows it up and says the man is a hot package all wrapped in one. And we'll have to see if Amanda LaRusso agrees. I mean, it's a big, there's a difference here between Daniel and Terry Silver. Ben Urban says you ain't cool unless you're Terry Silver. Des says, I'm getting priest vibes, which, you know, it's interesting because we did a live stream a long time ago about Thomas and Griffith's other roles. And, you know, he obviously played a very prominent villain in John Carpenter's Vampires. And he almost kind of, to me, has a Dracula look. Like he's got that medallion around his neck. He's enjoying being in the dark, in the shadows. And I love that look.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Drew?
Dude, he looks so awesome. Like I think someone, I have to see the comment here. It says, yeah, Marianella, tell me you're a typical 80s villain without telling me you're a typical 80s villain. Like, yes, because like, look at that. Anytime you wear a turtleneck with a blazer, you either look like a millionaire or a supervillain. And he's both, right? Like he's just both. And I love the touch with the all black, getting out of a black limo, private jet behind him, and that medallion is so awesome. Like it looks so cool. Like, man, he looks so cool. I just want to be this guy right now. Like he's so awesome, and it's everything that I wanted. And I'll never forget when we got the teaser of him standing backwards with the ponytail. What I messaged you, Chris, on Twitter, and I remember I said like, "Oh my God, it's amazing," and you said to me, what a time to be alive for us Terry Silver enthusiasts. And I think about that all the time when I see this, and exactly what you said, Ken. Like, thank you, Josh and Hayden, because you know, for us, like, I had never thought that anyone appreciated this guy from a movie, a third in a trilogy from 1989, and it's like 2020, and I'm sitting here like loving on this villain. I didn't realize that there were so many of us out there, and I'm just so glad that we're getting this moment again, because man, it's so cool. And I'm just so happy to see where this goes. I hope he doesn't lose in this season, because I'll just be sad.
Absolutely. Now, a bit of Brookie points out the limo in the shades, just like Sato.
Interesting.
Now, okay, so let me throw this to you guys. Is this out of Sato's playbook, number one? And number two, is Chosen going to be able to dial into that and see that really quickly? Is Chosen going to be able to size this guy up and maybe have an idea of what his weaknesses are pretty quickly? I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
You know, I think Chosen very well could see some parallels to Sato like that. Yeah, I'm totally getting a Sato vibe now that that's out there. Like, even the way that we're kind of introduced to Sato in the Karate Kid 2, this is maybe a little bit of an homage to that. I think Chosen is just, you know, I think Amanda's a really smart character. I think Chosen has, you know, with age, I think he's probably gained a lot of that wisdom that Miyagi had. I think Chosen's going to be able to see past a lot of Terry's manipulation. And I think it's just going to lead to just an ultimate, just amazing karate fight. I truly think that Chosen and Terry is a fight that we will get, and it will be glorious and maybe one of the best fights ever on the show. But yeah, I think Chosen's going to be quite a match. I think Terry's going to have, coming at him from all sides, he's going to have Amanda on one side, he's going to have Chosen on the other, and then he's going to have Daniel and Johnny to contend with throughout the whole thing. And I honestly do think between all of them, they have enough kind of brain power and smarts and might for Terry to meet his match.
Yes. Now, Liz, great to see you, Liz. She says, I'd wager that Terry Silver personally knew Sato, or at least did business with Sato Industries, which is really fascinating because he was a major player in Okinawa. He was a major player in Japan. And yeah, if Terry did international business, if he was a tycoon, he might have come across Sato Industries. Drew, do you think that connection will come up? Do you think Chosen and Terry will recognize kind of what's going on?
It would be really interesting. I love that comment, because you're right. Terry's a CEO of a multinational corporation. Sato Industries was not some small company and, you know, just a local company. I mean, they were big. Dynatox might have dumped waste off of the coast there, Jay. I agree with you. I mean, I think it would be interesting. I think The interesting thing about Sato, besides the fact that he was probably bad at karate, like you said, just I think like the whole angle of, I think Terry's on another level than him, and again, I'm biased, but I do think that there is an aspect of this where Terry's gonna maybe get too cocky because he
Mm.
hadn't won yet before, and now
Yeah.
that he's won, he is on top of the world, and he might spread himself too thin. And I think you're right in that Chosen has matured with his age. He was a hothead when he was younger. He was very, aggressive. I think he has turned more Miyagi-esque, but I think he's got the qualities of Mr. Miyagi that are really good, but I think he also has the qualities of the old Chosen still that will make him be able to kind of pull out all the stops. And I think that's what makes him such an interesting character. And I like the idea, like you said, Chris, of this ultimate showdown between the two of them because the Cobra Kai thing is no mercy, right? And Chosen is not the most peaceful, just meditating karate master that we saw from Mr. Miyagi. He was only defensive karate, he didn't try to attack people. We saw Chosen's willing to do what it takes. I think it'd be real interesting to see the two of them go at it. And to the point that you made, Ken, just trying to understand, can he see through the lies and can he see through the BS? I think he can. I think he's going to. And I think it'll be interesting. I bet Terry will underestimate Chosen. And I think that's going to be his either temporary downfall or the ultimate downfall. Whatever one it happens to be, I think he's going to push the right buttons.
Yeah, and you mentioned the idea of Terry spreading himself too thin. He's getting too cocky. He's maybe getting too overconfident. He's on top of the world, and he's spreading himself too thin, which kind of gets to our next series of images. So we have this very stylish high heel stepping off what looks like a private plane, and it's Kim Da-Eun. Okay, so this is the new sensei from South Korea, and we don't know for sure yet, but I'm guessing she's related to Sensei or Master Kim Sun-young that was mentioned in Karate Kid 3 and then also in season 3 of Cobra Kai. He would have been the teacher of Terry Silver and John Kreese and could be the originator of the Cobra Kai fighting style. And she could be his, I don't know, would she be the granddaughter? I'm probably. She might be the granddaughter if she's related that directly. What do you guys think of Sensei Kim and the way she's walking off the plane?
Man, just badass. And like I love her braid too. It looks so awesome. Like especially when they show her in the karate gi.
Yeah.
But she's super confident walking out of here. I think they bow to each other, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And Terry rolls out the literal red carpet for her.
Yes.
So she's obviously important. And the way that these other people are just standing around like 80s villain henchmen, and they've got their duffel bags around them.
Right.
She's obviously somebody really important. So I think the connection, it seems it's too direct to be a coincidence. I think that it's going to be what you've been speculating on, Ken, and the connection back to the original Cobra Kai fighting style. I'm so excited to see where this goes. And she just seems like an awesome character. I'm really excited to see her backstory and where they're going to take her because she's teaching the Quicksilver method or some form of it. Her and Terry are buddy here. He's got a lot of respect for her, obviously. I'm so pumped to see what this turns out to be.
Oh yeah. Chris, what do you think?
My read on Kim Da-Eun, at least at this juncture, is that she's not someone that Terry is going to be able to control. And I think may ultimately be part of Terry's downfall. I hate to say it, guys. I know you I know this is like blasphemy, but I get the sense that she just, is not going to be controlled by Terry. And I think initially there may be some sort of bond there. There may be, some sort of trust. But she does strike me as someone who is very much, she's in charge. And the type of thing where Terry doesn't know it, but it's only a matter of time. And whether that or not that's a good or a bad thing for everyone else is, anyone's guess. But I do kind of get the feeling that maybe she's not someone that Terry can necessarily control the way he wants to.
Right. Well, okay, guys, I have a couple questions. Okay. The first question is this Terry's plane or her plane? Like, because she looks pretty stylish, and she's walking off the plane with. I guess we can talk about these guys too. They look like the senseis that we're going to see later in the Cobra
Yeah.
Kai dojo. You know, with dressed in black with like the red kind of satin wristband or whatever they are on their gis, and they've got their duffel bags. Did these guys come with her from South Korea?
It looks like it. I kind of get the vibe that they may be her team. Like he may have flown them all over, or maybe she flew her own jet over. But I kind of do get the feeling that they may be her team. One of those, by the way, is Tyron Woodley from the UFC, who's one of the new senseis, a guest star on the show.
Yeah.
So probably we're going to see some fights.
I would hope so.
Yeah. What now? So what do you think, Drew? Like, because we knew that if it's like Kim Sun-young, he was doing what Sato was doing in Karate Kid 2. He was training U.S. military. That's what he was doing, and in hand-to-hand combat for military applications, I guess. And so if she's carrying on his legacy, I mean, these could be like military or mercenary types. Like, this seems very 80s, Drew.
It does.
Like, what do you think? What do you think's going on here? And who has the allegiance of these guys?
I don't know if anyone's speculated on this, and they probably have. I haven't watched a lot of the breakdowns. I did watch yours, but one of the things that I've been thinking about is the chronology of the events. And when we talked about some of the other pictures in here of them, and I can't recall, so you guys have to keep me honest, but when they were showing the other senseis and them trying to take over the other dojos, like I wonder if if Terry was in a situation where he thought like, man, this isn't going to cut it. Like none of these guys are good enough. Nobody can teach Cobra Kai. Like Kreese isn't there, and him and Kreese were obviously the two that know the style, and Johnny knows it a little bit, but he's obviously his mortal enemy at this point. Like he's got to bring in the reinforcements. And I think to what Chris said here, like I think that, she's dangerous. Like I think he doesn't know what he's doing. I think he's playing with fire. And I personally think that they are her people. To your point, I think she's bringing them in, and I think that she's probably, if she is a master of the Cobra Kai fighting style, maybe she's even the grandmaster, like who potentially the other folks are. I think she's going to bring them in, and I think he needs them. He needs them to help him expand the dojo. He's spread himself too thin, so he's got to bring in someone that's a professional and professionals. And I would not be surprised if maybe the other people couldn't cut it, and he just cut everybody and said, "We've got to make this call." And somehow he brings her in, but I think it's her plane, and I think those are her team.
Wow.
I think that could be the case.
Well, and this is interesting too, Chris, because you brought up her being, maybe danger for him. This was such an interesting, subtle shot. Like it hit me as strange because I don't know what to describe this sort of like facial expression is. Like it could be sort of respect, but to me, it almost looks like she's throwing her head back and maybe a little bit of maybe hidden disdain or something. Like she's hot. She's sizing him up. Like, oh, this is Terry Silver. Like I'm going to make quick work of you someday or something like that. I don't know. I got those vibes. Do you?
I think it could just be the reaction to the turtleneck and chain. She's probably thinking of that meme of The Rock with the turtleneck and the chain and the fanny pack.
Right.
I mean, maybe the fanny pack is a tofu Terry accessory. By the way, I saw someone in the chat earlier say, they don't want tofu to be used in a pejorative sense because they love tofu. I love tofu.
I like tofu too.
I'm a vegan, so I say it with love. So.
I agree with you.
Yes. Yes. And that was the most loving version of Terry Silver.
Yes.
Yeah. So Drew, Drew, would you agree? Yeah. This could be kind of like a weakness for Terry, unfortunately.
Yeah. Could be real interesting too. And I saw Kate said something interesting in the chat. Kate Maloney, she said, I have a feeling that she's not going to take lightly the fact that Silver betrayed Kreese. Betrayal is not an easy to forgive in Asian culture. And I think that's an awesome comment because she's going to maybe be on the alert if she's aware that this guy put his partner in jail, essentially. Right. I mean, when she finds that out, or maybe she doesn't know. I don't know. I love that comment though, Kate. I think it's a really cool call out.
Yeah. Really, really great point. I know we're getting, a new culture. You know, it's really interesting to see, you know, what's going to happen. And maybe Terry isn't as adept like at his, I don't know, etiquette as he thinks he is. Maybe he's going to run into trouble. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you guys might be right. Okay, so next we've got Anthony at the water park. Okay, so Kenny comes up. Okay, looks like they're bullying Anthony. They're putting they're tubing him. I guess, is that a word? They're tubing him, and then
It's
they
the
kick him.
modern twirly, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes into the pool, and you know he's not happy about that. And then there's a scuffle. Sorry, I picked this one. It's kind of half black, but in the middle you can see Devin. So
Yeah.
it looks like she's actually against Cobra Kai in this scene. So maybe this is before she's joined Cobra Kai, or maybe she's just genuinely friends with those other people. I know the popular thing is that she was part of Cobra Kai being a mole for them, a spy. I don't know, but I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on Devin and this whole scene here?
I think the spy mole thing is interesting because I can't get a read on her. Like, I think
Yeah.
someone said that maybe she was at Topanga Karate and they got bought out by Cobra
Right.
Kai, so that's an interesting angle. Maybe she didn't want to join them directly, but she sort of reluctantly joins them. I'm curious about where the water park stuff happens in terms of the chronology. Like, I think there was
Right.
a couple good comments earlier. The thing I think that was interesting about this is just I wasn't sure what to make of these scenes because we saw a lot of maybe clips of Robbie and Miguel, but we didn't necessarily see the broader group until now. And I think,
Right.
or at least that I recall. And it's very 80s, right? To have a water park scene. We talk about montages, we talk about
Right.
water parks. Like, I think about Bill and Ted's Excellent
Yes.
Adventure and the movies like that. But I do think that this is going to be interesting. And I'm kind of excited to see what it is. I don't know. It has like a cool summer vibe to it. And, what is it? Golf and stuff and all that. It's got that vibe to it, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is that water slide that Ali said that they'll do next time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be.
Yes. So, okay. So we've got kind of, Chris, we've got this situation here, and there's a lot of discussion about this. Like, obviously there's this thing where Kenny is maybe, it looks like Eli intervenes for Anthony. Kenny's trying to fight him. Hawk's not really trying. He lands a hit. Robbie sees what's going on. Sam and Miguel see what's going on. Then there's this shot where we've got, it looks like maybe Eli's in the water. Kenny's hurt.
Yeah.
Robbie is standing there kind of watching, and then Miguel comes in and shoves Robbie. And so I've seen multiple different versions of what people think's happening here, all the way up to no one will really know for sure. It's kind of like a misunderstanding versus Robbie pushing Eli in and helping Kenny out. I thought maybe Kenny had managed to knock Eli in and Robbie got there. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think's happening?
Well, I think there's a picture. I don't know where the picture came from, but I saw a picture of, in this scene, there's a picture of Robbie and Tori sitting together on the chairs, just like Miguel and Sam are. So what I think happened here is Robbie and Tori are sitting there, which that's like, that right there is like, wow, they're still a thing. Okay. Where is everyone's alignment at this juncture? What I think happens is Robbie sees Kenny and Hawk fighting. He comes over. He comes to Kenny's aid because he's still protective of him, because he still thinks of him as a good kid, and he maybe feels, a little bit of kinship with him. He comes, he pushes Eli in the pool. Then Miguel sees that, he gets pissed, and then this confrontation unfolds here. This is really interesting in terms of all the alignments here, because we have Robbie and Miguel probably supposed to be on the same page at this point, but we know they're not. We have Robbie and Tori still a thing, potentially, Miguel and Sam still a thing. I think this is going to be the scene that really tests everyone's bonds here. And, we're kind of seeing Robbie just come to Kenny's aid and just kind of snap, that's his snap reaction to come to Kenny's aid. So that's a very interesting dynamic in between rival dojos.
Right. Yeah. I love that explanation. Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. I think so. Drew, do you have any thoughts on this water park drama?
I just like the chaos because it's just like you said, Chris, like all these alignments and all these different who's with who and a lot of the different people and where do they actually wind up. I'm excited to see what it is. When I first saw a couple of the shots, I was like, oh, okay, it's just Robbie and Miguel mad at each other again. Here we go. But then when they started zooming out and showing us all the other people involved, I got a little bit more excited about it because I think it's cool to see how the other characters react. And it's more than just these two going at each other. It's the broader Cobra Kai versus Eagle Fang slash Miyagi-Do slash whatever else is going on. So I'm excited to see where this actually winds up and how the alliances shift after it, so to
Right.
speak.
Do you guys think that there's some event or a reason why everyone's here at once, or is this just channeling the 80s and the water park is where you got to be and everyone's here?
That's interesting. Like, yeah, like what does get everyone to, could it be in like another party that someone's throwing, a birthday party that gets the two rival dojos together, like we saw in season 2? Yeah, I don't know. It could just be, hot summer day and let's all go to the water park. But I don't know. It's I guess maybe it could, there also could be a tip off, if someone knows, hey, all the Cobras are going to be here, all the Miyagi-Dos are going to be here. Let's go, start some crap.
Right.
Especially if we have people who we're not sure of their, their true intentions and their true alliances at this point. We have someone like Devin who seems kind of like they're going to be in between, a few different dojos, at least at this part in the season. So yeah, interesting stuff. Like who knows what the impetus is, but just like the movie theater, like they could all just be hanging out,
Right.
they all happen to be there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then we have this scene. It's really the same scene that we saw in the last trailer. It's, we're never going to be friends. And so obviously I get the feeling here, Johnny is kind of thinking positively. He's like, come on now, maybe he thinks that things are better than they are. And they're like, no, we're not friends. We never will be. But I don't know. I have a feeling that they'll work that out. Right. But, so this is kind of a continuation. We saw this fight scene here too. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Will this be the last fight between Miguel and Robbie?
It's interesting. I don't know what's that was a good shot there. It looks like he's sneezing. It's one of those things where when I first saw this, I'm like, are they sparring? Are they practicing? And then it's obviously that they're fighting, but you get into this whole thing. I don't know. For me, I wish they would team up a little bit. I don't want it to them just hate each other for the entire season. So hopefully it is the last fight because it would be good to see them go up together in kind of a partnership. I understand why the conflict is there because they're the two sort of alpha characters here. But it's interesting how Hawk was sort of like that. And now he's sort of become, I think someone said it in the chat, a little bit more balanced, which I think is interesting. And these two are sort of the yin and the yang of themselves too. What do you think, Chris? Do you think that this is their last fight?
I really hope so in a lot of ways. I think ultimately for Miguel and Robbie, I don't know if this is it, but they're just going to have, we fight this out. We fight to a draw. We shake hands.
Yeah.
And then we align for the greater good, but the look on Miguel's face in some of these shots makes me think that no, there's a little bit more rage behind this fight. So I don't necessarily know if maybe they're getting it all out now and moving on, or maybe it continues. But these are two characters that are very much like two sides of the same coin, very much like a Daniel Johnny type situation, different but same. So I think with all the parallels there, who knows how long their rivalry could go on? It could outlast the entire show, as far as we know.
It's a good point.
Right. Now, Chris, you mentioned like Miguel having more anger and aggression. Jay points out, is Miguel growing his hair out to put in a ponytail? So, I mean, is it something where, we had a comment earlier, is basically saying that is Terry Silver kind of winding Miguel up and pointing him in a direction? Is he somehow influencing Miguel? I don't know. We haven't seen any evidence of that, but he does look kind of angry. Miguel's always been kind of like this positive, hopeful guy. At least in these shots, he seems kind of negative. Maybe it's however the Mexico incident ended, maybe he wasn't happy with that. I don't know, but I don't know. Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of Miguel at the end of season 1 in the tournament. That look on his face, but this feels even more visceral. Almost, it feels like this is more real. There are more real stakes attached to it. More than just a tournament. So that's instantly what I thought of. I thought of his face in that moment, and Carmen mentions, oh, I don't like that face that I saw. The look on his face. This is, to me, almost even worse. So there's probably a lot of pain and anger behind that.
I think you got a lot of the relationship aspects in this. Like, he was looking for validation and approval at the end of season 1 because he's trying to find his way in school, and he's trying to find his way with his friends and all that stuff. I think he's got so much adversity going on right now with this relationship. I mean, he dealt with basically paralysis. I mean, he came back from that. He's had and lost relationships with 2 of the different girls, and that's a little kind of weird right now. And he does have that rivalry with Robbie, like you said. And then there's also that approval and validation and the father figure that he's looking at from Johnny, and the disappointment that he had when, with the little bit with the hospital bed and what was going on in there, and then him fleeing to Mexico, and then the drama with that. I mean, it's kind of heavy stuff when you take a step back and put yourself in his shoes. It's like, all right, I can kind of understand why he's struggling so hard and what he's actually going through as a character. That's good writing. I mean, it's just good writing. And I think, Robbie's also, like you said, they're sort of the antithesis, but Robbie's dealt with a ton of adversity too. I mean, his mother and the fact that Johnny wasn't there. I mean, it's really interesting characters. And I think that's what makes those two so compelling, and why you kind of want to see where it's going to go. And I think you guys said it really well. There is an aspect of, there's the zen of Daniel in some of them, and Robbie has that. He sort of has this own maturity that he had of himself, and Miguel has that rage of Johnny in a way. But then they also have a lot of the other problems and struggles that they both had. So I think it's really cool to watch the 2 of those guys evolve, whether it's, learning or also falling and then having to get back up again. I think it's really cool. I'm actually curious to see where that's going to wind up by the end of this season. It'll be interesting.
Absolutely. And Marianella adds, Miguel's very angry. He reminds me of Daniel in Karate Kid 3.
Yeah.
And then Kate Maloney says, Miguel and Robbie better bury the hatchet because it's going to be awkward during the holidays. I can see them sparring over the turkey or trimming the tree. That's funny.
I like that.
Jay says it could be like an Anakin Skywalker character where he can turn out either way. That's interesting.
I agree.
So we have this again. So we talked about these shots before. Remember the last Drew? We were like, "Who is this? Like, where is this?" And I think we were pretty sure that it probably could have been at LaRusso Auto. I know that's what I thought, and because Terry Silver would not use coffee creamer. He would buy the platinum like war pieces if he were doing this on his grand map. So
you guys Sherlock Holmes the crap out of it. And I was sitting there thinking like, oh, Terry bought their dealership. He's going to turn their dealership into a JoJo because that's just what he would do. And you guys were right. I think you and Peter nailed that at the time. I forgot when we did that, but that was a fun conversation.
Well, thank you. And so these were the old shots. Okay. So here's the new one. So we see it's going to be the 4 of them. They're teamed up. This could be, I don't know when in the season this is. Maybe you could get your thoughts on that. We've got Daniel, Chosen, Amanda, and Johnny at LaRusso Auto. It looks like, because Daniel's saying something along the lines of, he's growing. Gosh, what was it? But basically, like, Terry's like coming at them at every turn, and he keeps putting down more Cobra Kai pieces. And so I get the sense that this is sort of in the middle of their plan, and Terry's just adding more, and they're having this war right now. I am trying to figure out what's going on with Amanda. Did she have her affair with Terry Silver, or did that never work? And she's been with them the whole time. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts of what's going on here?
It's interesting.
Oh
yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Well, this is the shot that makes me really think that Terry has in a lot of ways met his match in Amanda, because out of all of them, I'm kind of the most frightened of what she could have in store for Terry, just
Look
based
at
on
that look on her face.
look at that look. That's man, there is some true mom anger behind
Mhm.
that look. And that's some would say maybe the most dangerous kind of anger. I don't know if Terry can outmatch a mom, but no, this is this is just like another one of those pinch me scenes where it's like, am I really looking at Daniel LaRusso and his wife standing around kind of in a war room with his two rivals from the first two movies? Like, am I really seeing this properly? Like, is this really a thing? And it is a thing. It's a beautiful thing. I don't like, I'm not going to try to decipher this map and these, we know they're identifying where dojos are and coming up with some sort of plan of attack. What that plan is, I don't know. I don't have the mind for that. I'm not the war. I'm a pacifist, so I'm not the war type. So I can't really say what their battle plan might be. But it's just a beautiful thing to see these minds coming together.
Yes. The dream team, as Kyle says.
That's a good way
Yes.
to put it.
What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, I like that you got Amanda at the head of the table too. There's something to be said for that, right? Like everything in this show is intentional, and I do feel like she like Chris, you said it earlier, she's one of the smartest characters on this show, and I think that they've shown how cunning she can be, and maybe you're right. Like Chosen certainly is a match for Terry, but I do think that Amanda understands the game, and I think she doesn't get enough credit for it, and I think she's gonna be maybe the key to winning this thing. And I maybe it is earlier in the season where they're sort of plotting this out, but I do like the dream team of everyone there. As Kyle said, I think it's such a cool shot to see, like you said, Chris, too, the rivals and Daniel and his wife in this auto shop where they've got these things out and they're planning their attack against Terry Silver. I think someone else said it, like very Game of Thrones-esque, which is very true. It's very cool.
Right.
I really hope they gave Anush a raise, because he's probably the only one actually running the dealerships at this point. So I hope they take care of him during this time.
Yes. Yes, we've got a question. One of my stories says, are there 20? I guess not quite. The 20 dojo Silver wanted to open in Karate Kid 3. I know it's interesting because he was very specific about 20 new locations, but at least here he doesn't have it. But I wonder if that's Terry. He might eventually, that might be his goal, to get to 20, to follow through on everything. Okay, so Chosen, obviously. Now, during this, it's interesting. He's saying something like, if things continue the way they are, everything we've worked for won't even be a memory. Which, it's so funny he says that, because that's what Terry Silver said to Miyagi. You won't even be a memory in Karate Kid 3. So I don't know. That seemed like kind of a cute little wink to Terry Silver. We have this shot of Daniel. We saw in the last trailer of him putting the thing over Miyagi-Do karate, which would go with the first scene if he's saying they're closing it. All right. Now, Drew, I think you mentioned this before. This is a scene where we see Sensei Kim going up against Tori and Devin, and man, that braid launches into battle with her. Yeah, that's wild. I don't know. Can you guys give me your thoughts on this, on a teacher sparring against two students like this?
I think she's gonna school the hell out of them. She's gonna show them who's business, and I think it's so cool. And she gets really tough and aggressive with them. I mean, she's not messing around in this scene, and I think it's gonna show you how tough she is. I think it's cool, and all the other people are just like watching with terror as she's going to town here. But I like the fact that it's Tori and Devin, and I mean, two of the tougher students that we've seen, and she's probably gonna maybe wipe them out with them. I don't know. I'm curious to see where that goes.
Right. And 6 Ways to Someday says all female class. Interesting. Chris, what are your thoughts looking at this? I mean, this definitely, she seems a bit unorthodox, Sensei Kim.
I love the idea of Sensei Kim teaching an all female Cobra Kai class. I mean, that's I hadn't even put that together. But that, looking at this little snapshot from before, that's a possibility. I love the braid. I hope she uses it as a weapon The braid based offense is awesome for those who have seen Bianca Belair in WWE. Yep. It's that's awesome. I really think that Sensei Kim is going to be someone who immediately appeals to someone like Devin. And I think she's going to be what pushes Tori out of Cobra Kai eventually.
Wow.
Especially based on some of the things we see in the trailer. I think this might be kind of the final straw for Tori. She's already conflicted about, the tainted victory. I think this might just be one too many for her. Whereas I think Devin will attach very quickly to this and really kind of grow into her own, just the way Kenny did under Terry.
That's interesting. I think you're right, Chris. I think that's an amazing point. So now we get back to the other part of this equation, Terry Silver. Okay, guys, we can see the medallion now. It's got a cobra on it, which is incredible. But he does look like he belongs in some kind of gothic castle. Like he's fearsome and he's going to live forever.
I gotta I gotta update my Twitter picture because that's just a good shot there. I mean, that's just picture.
Right. So now Terry is basically telling Sensei Kim that he needs to see what students are ready for the next step. Because, and I think he mentioned this earlier, it's like he wants to go bigger than the valley. So he's thinking about the next step. And this could be his downfall. As we were talking, it looks like Sensei Kim's definitely in charge here. She's got one of her senseis to the left and Tori is to the right. So Tori has been singled out. But then we have this student in the blue gi, which is Devin, and it's a Topanga karate gi. So I don't know. What do we think of that? So this might be under the buyout philosophy. Maybe Devin was at Topanga karate and she got bought out, and this is one of her first days at Cobra Kai. I don't know. What do you guys think of what's going on here? Drew, what do you think?
It could be interesting if maybe Devin shows up as a tryout or something. Maybe she's showing up and first off, Topanga. I mean, I'm a huge Boy Meets World fan, so I love the fact that they just threw that in there, Topanga karate, which is great. But I'm a huge Boy Meets World fan. But when I look at this, I think maybe there was some sort of tryout or something, or maybe she showed up from that place, or maybe it was part of the buyout and she's trying to keep her spot in the place. Could be interesting to see how she goes up against it. But again, they show stuff and it's all for a reason. Like they wouldn't have shown her in that gi if they didn't want us to sort of speculate on it. I'm sure that was put in there for a reason. Because there's the other shots of her in the Cobra Kai gi. So it's like they flashed that so we could break it down. And I think it's really interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some sort of tryout as part of the buyout, maybe. And she's trying to prove her worth. And maybe this is where Sensei Kim like ensnares her a little bit in a way.
Terry's buyout tryout. Gotta love it.
Totally Terry.
Totally Terry. With all the Sean Hunter comparisons early on, I'm surprised that Robbie doesn't join Topanga.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. He did have Sean Hunter comparisons there.
That's funny. A bit of Brookie says totally Topanga.
Totally Topanga. Imagine Xander Stone coming back to visit his old dojo and just being like, "Oh, whoa, what is this? Who are you? What is going on here?"
Right. Crow with internet services. Maybe this paves the way for Xander Stone to return, competing to be Cobra Kai's new male champion. Maybe so. So now we're going to see, I think, this sequence here, kind of a more brutal side of Sensei Kim than we've seen before. We're going to see. It looks like they're playing this game or it's a training exercise, sorry, where maybe they have to reach for a bamboo stick. I don't know what they do with it once they get it, but Devin gets her hand on the table and then Tori just whacks her kicks her right in the face. I mean, we're looking at pain here. And then I think Sensei Kim says, "Get harder," and then whacks Tori in the foot. And that really hurts. And so, yeah, Chris, what's your read on what's happening here? This is almost more brutal than Quicksilver, or at least at that level, maybe.
Yeah, in its own way, it's just the idea of going to your karate dojo after school and being whipped with a bamboo stick by a potentially lethal martial artist. It's like Dimitri in season 1 is like talking about Johnny when everyone first joins Cobra Kai. It's like, he can't actually hurt us. He works for us. We pay him. And just like, imagine coming into this with that type of mindset. Like, yeah, I'm safe here. This is my karate school. I'm a student, and people are being whipped in class. Like, this is a totally different level of just violence here and abuse from the teachers. So imagine the mentality of the kids who do stick around for this. Like, that's going to be kind of scary for, you know, the good guys to deal with.
This ain't your father's Cobra Kai, man. your grandfather, whoever, right? This is not John Kreese's Cobra Kai. You're right though, man. This is brutal. And it's what is it, corporal punishment that, like, I think about like the nuns and stuff from like the old Catholic schools whipping people with the ruler. That's like what this is. I mean, this is and I think your callback to season 1 with Dimitri is a really good one. They clearly, I mean, they're taking it, and she, like, all the comments, harder, kick harder, like, this is part of the training. And look at her face there. I mean, she's not messing around. This is and bamboo is, I mean, that hurts, man. I don't know if you've ever been whipped by something like that, like a stick or something. Like, that hurts a lot. So it's kind of interesting. And I think you guys were alluding to this earlier. I think this might be what breaks Tori. Like, I think they're going to try to break her down and toughen her up, but I think she's going to go, and I think it's going to push her out. I don't think that she's going to last in this. She's already got the doubt of what happened with the trophy and the tournament and all that. She's seeing these new methods coming in. I mean, she's a really complex character too when we talk about what she's been dealing with. And I think it'll be interesting to see. I think this is going to be what pushes her out, this type of training. I don't think she's going to stand for this.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so, Chris, would you say that, you know, what we're seeing here, this is like the special class when Terry's saying, like, well, you've got to find who's ready for the next step. Or these kind of the other students have been weeded out, and now this is like the inner group that gets this special torture and treatment?
You know, I'm not sure, because it seems like maybe the special class would be at that main spaceship dojo. This is very much just a regular looking dojo that hasn't really been fully, you know, rebranded yet. So I can't really get a read on like how early into this all is. Obviously it's still very early for Devin, but this almost strikes me as just more of like weeding out the weaklings from Topanga, maybe. I don't know. Devin still being in that gi though does make me wonder just kind of about the timeline of all of this. But it's really interesting that she's the only one in that gi. Like, that is something to me that's still, I'm kind of fixated on that, and I'm looking forward to just how that all plays out.
So, Drew, do you think this scene where we see Tori getting brutal with Devin is where in the season do you think this is?
I wonder if it's earlier, like to the point you guys are making, and maybe it's in the first third, because if they're starting to show Sensei Kim come in and she's starting to train, and if Terry's telling her to find out who's ready for the next level, I think he's trying to assemble the troops. And I think especially what Chris was saying with the Topanga karate gi, and that's there for a reason, I think. And especially if you start to see her in the black Cobra Kai gi, I would bet in the first third of the season, maybe the first half for sure. And I think there'll be something that comes out of that. And maybe the second half is where we see Tori struggle with some of the different decisions that she's going to have to make and the methods that she's being put under, specifically the Quicksilver method. Because I'm curious when that is. I mean, we saw that in the previous trailer and we saw some pictures of that. That's, you know, maybe not as hardcore as this, or maybe it is in some ways, because it's more she's one-on-one against that dummy and she's fighting it, making her own knuckles bleed and everything. And, you know, there's some brutality when you're fighting another student with a bamboo switch and all that stuff. But at the same time, like, to have to pummel a pipe statue and wood and stuff and basically break your hand. And that's like some psychological trauma. I mean, that's like, you talk about Kreese and Silver being in Vietnam being tortured. Like, that's the kind of torture methods that you put somebody under to see if they crack. And, you know, I think it's very Terry Silver-esque when you start thinking about his methods.
Absolutely. And Seb says, taking the mantra, strike first, strike hard, no mercy to another level. And that's a great point. And one of my stories says, and what exactly is the next step, I guess, beyond the tournament? And I think we might see that here in just a little bit. Okay, so here's a shot of Daniel and Chosen. They're kind of looking apprehensively. I'm guessing we don't have much context for this, but this might be leading up to this. So, all right, we talked about this a little earlier. I know a lot of people are talking about this. We have Chosen in the middle. We have a ring of 6 senseis, I suppose. They're at the Cobra Kai dojo, at Terry's dojo. Chosen's in the middle. Chris, what do you think is happening? We talked about this a little bit, but what do you think might be going on?
The setting throws me off from what I think it is. It could be a few things. I've actually seen some theories already. What I initially thought, just, you see things going by rapidly when you watch the trailer for the first few times. So when I saw this, I initially thought, is this maybe the other senseis who have been muscled out of their own dojos joining Chosen and helping him train and helping Miyagi-Do train to take down Terry and Cobra Kai? But the fact that it's in the Cobra Kai dojo, I think it's what we were talking about earlier, where maybe Chosen is kind of here as a mole, and he's posing as someone who is basically essentially trying out for a spot on Team Terry. And I think this is just going to, he's just going to wreck everyone here, and immediately be on Terry's radar. And then that's where Terry might start to get suspicious about, who is this Chosen, and start to look into him a little bit more.
Fascinating. I love that. I love that idea. That's great. Drew, did you have any thoughts?
I'm curious, do we see, and I didn't see it very well, but there's no affiliation on his gi, is there? There's a symbol of like a sai on, I think, his right arm, and that's all we got. And then I don't know what the red is.
Oh, right.
Is there anything that gives away, or does it look like he's affiliated with anything? Like some people have the dojo's name on it.
Right.
And not that it's real or anything. It could be a fake, like you said, Chris, it could be a fake dojo or something, but it was hard for me to see what his affiliation was in there. I like the idea of him posing as a mole. I really do. I think it's awesome, because you're right. You guys said it earlier. Like, Terry doesn't know who he is, and I mean, the I Am Gasoline thing. Maybe when he comes out and says that, it's like, oh, that guy that was at my dojo, and that would make that moment like even more epic, especially if he came out and it's like, that's the guy that just was here. And I think that would be really cool if this is before that. I kind of hope it is, because that would be an awesome reveal. It would be amazing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we'll see more of him in a second. Now, here we go. Marital strife. Amanda says, you just won't stop. And Daniel's like, look, the only way this is going to end is if you let Chosen and me handle this. And then she says, fine, handle it, or something else. I don't know. So this, and she's wearing the same dress right now that she was wearing at the auction earlier with Terry Silver. We don't know if this was before the auction or after the auction. What do you think? Obviously, this isn't a good moment for the LaRusso marriage. There's a lot of, internal strife happening. Chris, what do you think's going on with the LaRussos? We talked about, and you talked about how Amanda is really very smart, and you wouldn't want to go up against her, and that she might be a big part of Daniel's success. And it's kind of sad that they're kind of at loggerheads here, but how do you think this relationship story is going to play out in season 5?
I really have to think that to get to this point, Terry Silver had to have done something to one of their children for her to be this angry at Daniel in this moment. This moment, actually, when I first saw the trailer, gave me like goosebumps. I think this was legitimately the scariest moment of the trailer. This delivery from Courtney here. I feel like for things to be this bad, it can't just be about the dealerships. It can't just be about this, like, this passion project of Daniel's to take down Cobra Kai that's been plaguing their life. Something has to be getting that personal, to where one of their children is now either hurt or potentially has been lured over, which, as we see in shots later, doesn't look to be the case, but like, we don't know what the order of any of this is.
Right.
So that's just my guess. It's something involving the children or the family.
What do you think, Drew? Would that because obviously you're a family man. I mean, that
Yeah.
would probably be something that would totally
Yeah.
tip you off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, she's been putting up with a lot over the past 4 seasons, like Chris, you were alluding to. I mean, she's been running the dealership by herself basically for a while he's off doing whatever he wants to do and his passion project and all this stuff. And I get it that it's important to him, but at what point is she like, look, take some time for us. Like, what about us? And she said that to him in so many words in the past. And I think I like the idea that you say, Chris, about maybe something happened to the kids, but also this could be after her date with Terry Silver after she won the auction.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she saw what a real man has to offer. No, I'm just kidding. But having said that, maybe there was something that went down there. And when she says finish it, I'm curious if there was more before this where she maybe tries to convince him maybe he's not so bad. It's hard
Mhm.
because you don't know at what point in the timeline it is. And when they're around the war room, is that in the beginning? Is that at the end? We're not sure. Is she under the Terry charm here? And when she's telling him to finish it, like, fine, just do your thing. Like, stop with this whole like gallivanting around and just trying to make this your mission, because it is dragging the kids into it. And it gets dangerous at a certain point because
Mhm.
It's like he thought he wanted to do karate school, and then he almost gets killed by John Kreese, and then here they are right now. So, and it is destroying their marriage. I think there's another picture, and you probably have it, where there's like the photograph when he's like holding the
Yes.
family photograph.
Yes.
That's for a reason too. I mean, I would not be surprised if Terry is trying to come between their marriage and he's trying to put a strain in, and he's got the scruff too. I think you guys called out, like, he's clearly in a bad place.
Mhm.
And he's almost going full on revenge mode, and he's losing sight of what the heck anything even means anymore. And that means Terry's sort of won, because Terry wants to mess with him and he wants to ruin his life. I mean, it's a callback to Karate Kid 3. He just wants to mess with this dude. And he's succeeding at it if that's the case. And I think Terry will be proud of himself in that regard.
Yeah, great thoughts. I think you're exactly right. And we're going to get back to Daniel looking pretty bad here in a second. We'll so this is the Cutting Edge Karate Sensei. So, that's an interesting. We talked about Chosen maybe auditioning for a spot, maybe being a mole or a spy, going up against these others. It looks like he's going to handle them all very easily.
All six.
All six. Yes.
I'm thinking about like Batman from like the Arkham games, where you're like running around in circles and he's just knocking them all out. Like, that's what I imagine Chosen is doing here. If anyone's ever played those games, that's exactly what it seems like to me. He's just going to take them all out.
Oh, absolutely. And Daniela says the senseis who lost their dojos to Silver will band together with Daniel, Chosen, and Johnny to teach and guide the Miyagi Fangs kids against Cobra Kai and Silver. Yeah, and so that's what I was thinking too, is like, is there that angle where they don't like how their dojos have been bought out and they might actually go work for Daniel and Chosen? Because how are they going to take down Cobra Kai unless they open more dojos, if that's what they want to do? I don't know. That's kind of like an interesting idea. Let's get back to this. This is kind of our next. So he's looking at oh man, Scruffy Daniel. We haven't seen this before.
Yeah. This is like Daniel as season 1, episode 1 Johnny. Like, that's immediately what I thought of.
Yes. Indeed. I mean, it's interesting because in the Karate Kid movies, you'd almost expect Daniel to go to Mr. Miyagi for some advice right now. Like, he'd be lost. But yeah, he doesn't have Mr. Miyagi. And then as we were talking about earlier, Drew, I think you made this really great point about Johnny kind of being that other person that could help Daniel. And so at this moment, maybe Daniel feels like he's got to fix everything himself, and he's shut himself off. What do you think's going on, Drew?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think he feels this like incredible burden that he's got to fix all of this stuff. And from the second Terry Silver showed up, he went ballistic. He was like, you guys don't even understand who this guy is. You don't understand what this means. And he knew the gravity of it because he was manipulated by Silver and Kreese back in 89 in Karate Kid 3. And I think that's still stuck with him. It's sort of his own version of a PTSD, similar to what Silver and Kreese may have dealt with from the war. And I think yes, we kind of joke that he has this extreme reaction and people are just like, what is he doing? But I think there is a reason for it, if I put myself in his shoes. But I do think that it's Terry wrecking his family, and honestly, Daniel's doing it to himself in a lot of ways, because he's taking, this so seriously that he's going off on his own, doing his own thing. And Amanda wants to help him, and he says, no, we have to finish it. We've got to do it. And whatever she was suggesting, we don't know, but clearly he didn't agree with her, and he wanted to take care of it himself with Chosen. And I think it's really going to put a strain on that relationship. I mean, I love, Chris, what you said, the tie back to Johnny from season 1. I think there's a lot of parallels here, and Johnny's in a better place right now than where he was back then, but he's still dealing with that adversity. And I think in these moments, Daniel's really going to miss Mr. Miyagi and like that balance that he would bring him. And I think when he talks about reminiscing and looking for his guidance, I could see maybe a few shots of him back at the cemetery talking to Mr. Miyagi at like the gravestone, and like he was doing in the other shot when Chosen shows up. So I'm curious to see how long this lasts and whether this will take it down a really long path and maybe he winds up in a bad place at the end of the season. I could see a major cliffhanger at the end here. Maybe Daniel just being in a bad place and maybe being more consistently in that place that Johnny was from episode 1, season 1 to Chris's point earlier. It would be interesting.
So Chris, do you think, obviously you brought this parallel between Daniel here and Johnny in season 1. Johnny in season 1 was divorced. Do you think at this point Amanda has left Daniel, at least temporarily, or do you think they're separated? Something like that's happened?
I don't have a read on that either way. I know that's kind of one of the more popular theories going around is either Amanda leaving Daniel or cheating on him or things of that nature. I don't necessarily see it going down that route. It could be this maybe could be Daniel getting maybe a glimpse of what that could look like, and maybe he recognizes the Johnny-ness of his situation here. But really, this is just where I think Jessica Andrews needs to come in with a warm bowl of mac and cheese and and just help Daniel and just be a solid friend, which is, he definitely needs all the friends he can get. So
that's great.
How awesome would that be if that actually happened? I mean, that would just be like, we're talking about, well, I'll save it for another stream sometime, but I would love that. That would be amazing.
Yes, 100%. Here's a shot. We're speaking of Johnny. He's on the floor. Looks like a paint respirator mask. He's got his laptop and he's watching Terry Silver's commercial and he slams it shut. I don't know. Do you guys think anything significant's happening here?
He's down and out.
Could he have just painted another vehicle, perhaps?
Oh, maybe.
I mean, I don't know if he would have gotten the Cobra Mobile back at this point. I don't know if that makes sense within the story, but or maybe he's painting the Dodge Grand Caravan to not be so embarrassing. But yeah, this is it kind of looks like he's in a bare apartment as well. Has he had to sell off all of his belongings because he doesn't have any income? Have they been stolen from him? Did he come home to an empty apartment and he's still just got that Dell laptop and that's all he's got?
Right.
Unless he went full Breaking Bad and he's actually like cooking meth in the other room. And it's Walter White. He's so down and out that he's got the respirator.
Homeless Lynn would definitely get the hookup then if he was cooking meth.
I like the idea that maybe he painted over his car, like you guys said, because maybe he was like, "Oh, I'm done with this whole thing," and he just paints over it in like a fit of rage, and it's like, "I'm done." Like that's how done he is. He painted over the Eagle Fang mobile.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really great idea.
Is this does he break the laptop here? Because we know he has a history of breaking TVs. Does he break the laptop here? Is this the end of the laptop?
He might. Those things are tanks, though. Those old Dells.
Those old Dells, yeah.
Right. I'm wondering if this is the moment where he decides, you know what, I got to do something about this. Like I can't keep doing what I'm doing. I've got to do something about this. And then he shows up at the LaRusso house and there's Sam opening the door. And then Amanda and Chosen look kind of surprised. It's weird. They look almost too surprised. I don't know why they look so surprised. I guess it's a happy surprise. It's almost like he caught them or something. I don't know. It's an interesting look. I've never seen Chosen look like that before. I don't know. So in this whole thing, he says, we got to get our hands dirty. So I guess this means, what do you guys think? That Johnny's fully on board? Maybe he's been reluctant up to this point, but he's fully on board now.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. Daniel's not in this shot, so is he just off? And it's like Johnny comes back, and now Johnny's the one that's like, okay, I'm going to jump in here, because maybe Daniel is in such a spiral and such a maybe a rut or a gutter. Maybe he left and he's away, and Johnny's the one that comes back. And it could have been in the lowest of moments where they're like, we're really down and out, and then you get the reluctant hero Johnny Lawrence walking back into the LaRusso home, and he saves the day. But I like the idea that he's the one that brings him back into the game, because maybe because he's been gone, he's the one that said he gave it up. So there's like, he comes back and Daniel's gone, and Daniel's there and then he's gone. So I like the dynamic there of where they're going.
Right. What if potentially Daniel, we see him with a black eye later. What if he's been beaten severely by Terry or any of Terry's goons? And what if it's like so bad that this is maybe, that shot of Amanda and Chosen, and the look on their faces, what if that's them being like, oh, you don't know. Daniel just got the crap kicked out of him by Terry Silver, and he's in a bad way right now.
That's a really good one.
That could, that's a potential read on it. It does kind of look like they got caught doing something.
Right.
Now that I hear that, which would be another interesting, there's the fans not really placing a lot of faith in Amanda.
She's dating around,
this season.
Right. That's good. I'm glad that Donnie's coming back. And well, oops. Okay, I'm sorry. I clicked on the Terry Silver. We got to keep going now. Okay, so this is the gasoline scene. Okay, and we've seen a little bit of that before, but in this scene, Terry Silver ups the ante. He's basically saying that if you continue down this path, your life will never be the same again. And if this confrontation happens in sequence, I guess we see Chosen still standing next to Daniel, so this might be before and I am gasoline. But I don't know. It's always really makes me scared when Terry Silver starts threatening. I mean, that's a very restrained but huge threat. Don't you guys think? That
line is chilling.
Yeah.
That's just another one of those moments where when I first watched it, I was like, oh my God, yes. Like that's totally Terry. We need a KenCast jingle for totally Terry. Yeah. But it also makes me think, what if, because there's a lot of misdirect in these trailers, a lot. What if Terry's not saying that line to like Daniel or Chosen? What if he's saying that line to Tori for exposing him? Like that could easily be the route that Tori decides to go. And then, he says, I'm going to destroy you. Look at what I've done to this LaRusso guy already. Like, so I could totally see it being a little bit of misdirect here with putting that line over this scene, but it could very well just be
that's
him saying it to Daniel.
Right. Interesting. And it would, think about what he did to Daniel when he was a teenager. I mean, he ruined his life, so to speak, and he could easily ruin Tori's life. I mean, she's already dealing with some problems. I mean, he's got methods, and now he's got a whole team of people. It's not just him and Kreese. I mean, he's got all the dojos. He's got potentially the good faith of the community. They think he's doing a community service here. I mean, who really knows that he's a villain? And, I hate to say it, but it's like, are you going to believe this teenager, or are you going to believe this guy who's a businessman? And I mean, it depends on, I guess, how she says it. But if she had proof, it's one thing. But if she's accusing him of cheating, it's like, why would this guy cheat? He's a successful sensei, and he's got this stuff. He would never do that. So it'd be really interesting. And you're right, there is a lot of misdirection. Wouldn't be surprising if they did like cut that in with something else. I've seen that done before. It's a very interesting point you made, Chris.
Absolutely. And Terry Johnson says, I wonder if Terry is intentionally or unintentionally giving Daniel some good advice. And I love that Terry's thinking about it this way. I mean, because Terry, I know you share a name with Terry, our Terry Silver, but people look at him as a bad guy, but he's got a lot of wisdom. Like maybe he does things a little too extreme, but like, and he's probably right with Daniel. He knows Daniel, and it's like, your life's not going to be the same again. And I think we have to look at it positively.
Try to keep him out of trouble, man.
Yeah, it's exactly. Now, okay. So this, and people have, pointed out, here's Daniel. He's got his black eye. It's the same eye that was blackened back in Karate Kid 1. And so it looks like he's back at Miyagi-Do, but he's been through a lot. Chris, do you think that he has fought Terry Silver at this point?
I want to say yes. Part of me believes that Daniel would also look a lot worse after fighting Terry. I just, I don't know. It could have been an altercation with some of the other senseis, Master Kim's team. I don't know. It's hard to say, and we don't know the timeline again, because these could all just be the first 2-3 episodes.
Right.
And I have to believe that a Terry and Daniel fight wouldn't take place right at the beginning of the season, but I mean, who knows?
That's good. Matt brings up he fought Mike Barnes.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, that's right.
We haven't talked about
that.
him.
Almost forgot, which they're probably banking on that we'll forget about Mike Barnes for a while.
Oh, yeah, he's in this.
Right. Right, exactly. And so it looks like Daniel's returning to Miyagi-Do, and we have everyone lined up here, even Amanda on the right, and they're bowing. So I don't know. Are they setting up a chronology? I know we were just talking about, and I totally agree that they really kind of misdirect you with continuity, and they make you think certain things. We don't know quite when this is happening. I think Chris makes a good point. It's probably towards the beginning of the season. But it looks like Daniel is entering with a black eye. He's been in some fight, but everyone's offering him respect. It's interesting. What do you think? Drew, what do you think's happening?
It's interesting too that you see Amanda there as well, and she's like bowing as a student, maybe, or just out of respect to them. I think probably something happened where he was either hurt or he went away for a while, and maybe this is after that other scene when Johnny shows up and says we've got to do whatever, because I like to think Daniel wasn't there, and then he returned because he knows what he needs to do now, and maybe he was lost, and whether it was he was in a fight with those Cobra Kai senseis, or he was just out in an alley somewhere taking his aggression out on some random villain, like trying to be Batman or something, who knows. But I think that he ran away and he came back now to be part of, okay, let's do this together now, and we got to do this the right way. And you got Robbie in the front, and you see Miguel here too.
Yes.
So I think that's another big piece, and you see Hawk. So you got the three major, and Sam. So I don't see Tori here, but I know we can't see behind the adults, but it's really interesting that you see those major characters in the front. At whatever point this takes, it seems like it's probably towards whatever the climax is, or wherever it's building towards that. And they're going after, Cobra Kai, and they know they got to do this. And it's a small group. It's almost like guerrilla warfare, right? I like the fact that it's a small group of people, and it's, let's take on the Goliath, David versus Goliath kind of situation. Even though you've got Chosen and Johnny Lawrence on your side. I mean, that's pretty
Insane.
Powerful in itself.
Right.
This is like another one of those. I never thought I would see this. I never thought I would see those three men standing side by side, teaching students, all for the same purpose. Like that's just one of those pinch me moments. But then
so cool.
When you also look at the front line of this dojo here, and you have Sam, Robbie, Miguel, and Hawk, like that to me is also like almost has the same emotional weight for me to see all of these people on the same side, which is incredible. Because you think about just how long we've had these movies with us, but in a short amount of time, the big three have been able to make the union of people like Miguel, Robbie, and Hawk and Sam. That feels to me, at least for me watching this trailer, it felt that was one of the biggest things. The shot of the three of Hawk, Miguel, and Robbie later is just like to me, I just paused on that and just looked at it for a while, just like, man,
Yeah.
this is amazing. Like
It's cool.
I can't believe what we're seeing here.
Right. Well, Chris, it could be even more amazing. There could be one more person who could be there too. Mike Barnes. Right? That would complete all Daniel's antagonists from the first movies would all be on the same side.
That door is open. Is he going to walk through that door there, you know?
Is this like the end, and they're going to play some 80s song, and then
It
Mike
could
Barnes is going to
be.
walk out
It's
and
like
join
the
them?
Chosen scene from before where
Right.
like when he's at the thing and he, you know, you're going to need some help or whatever he says. And it would be awesome if he walked out of there. It'd be so cool.
Absolutely. Now, Christian Crow, who did another amazing season 5 trailer last week, said Daniel fought Terry and lost. At his lowest, he comes back home to see Chosen and Johnny have managed to get all their kids back together. It's renewed hope for all. And then they all bow to Daniel. That's nice. I like that.
Can I
like
say for the record, Christian, your trailer was incredible.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
It was incredible. I actually, you know, I know it didn't have the new footage in here, but I say it's better than the official one. I thought you did an amazing job, and it just got me so hyped. So amazing work, man. Thank you for putting that together and sharing that with everybody.
You know, I give a lot of huge respect for, you know, the people in Netflix who put these trailers together. Obviously, they did an amazing job. But I agree, Christian. I think I enjoyed yours even more.
Yeah, and no disrespect to Netflix. I just
Yeah.
think, Christian, you just did an amazing job with that. So I thought it was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 100%.
Hire that man.
Yes, I agree.
Yep, it's true. And like he made the perfect trailer last year for season 4. It's like what we needed.
So good.
So here's Chosen giving Daniel, man, he's got the great, fiercest looks, looking at Daniel, and then Johnny looking back at Daniel, and Daniel with his black eye. Maybe this is a moment when all of their angst is gone, you know, where Johnny and Daniel always had this little animosity going. Maybe they're finally over that and fully teamed up now. I hope so, guys.
Maybe this is the moment where it finally registers to Johnny what Daniel went through in the past with Terry and what he's currently going through, because he kind of sidestepped the entire idea of Terry in that scene where they had at the bar last season. He just kind of was fixated on the fact that Daniel just got a bye to the final round of that tournament. He has yet to kind of acknowledge Daniel's like suffering at the hands of this man. So maybe this is where it's like, yeah, full respect. Like, I see you. Like, I get it. Let's get this son of a bitch.
Right. LeBron says, "Where's Dimitri?"
It's a good question.
And it's a really good question because, yeah, let's go back to it. Yeah, he's not there. And does this mean that Dimitri? You know, Dimitri is a very smart guy. And who else is very smart? Terry Silver. Is it possible that Terry Silver's recruited Dimitri? Maybe not even as a fighter, but as maybe someone to help run his organization or to do something else. I don't know. It's kind of odd that Dimitri would be missing, or else he's kidnapped.
Yeah, maybe that's a very 80s plot there. They kidnapped.
Yeah. Let's see what else we've got. Okay, so this is a big scene. Everyone's talking about. It's when one of the senseis, who, by the way, a lot of people are saying that this is Dutch. I think because of the hair, and I don't think it's Dutch. I think it's one of Sensei Kim's, you know, senseis. Maybe it's a nod to Dutch. I don't know. But he's got one of those bamboo sticks. So this looks like an important part of the training that they'll be doing at Cobra Kai with these sticks. And he's like, "No, go away. Adult lessons are on Wednesday." And then Johnny comes in and says, like, one of the best lines of all times. He said, "You know, we're not here to take a lesson. We're here to teach one." And then he just wailed. It looks like he's going to make short work of this sensei. So what do you guys think of what's happening? I mean, it's him and Chosen walking in.
I wonder if this is right after the scene when they said, "Hey, we're gonna go up against them," right after he shows up at the house, because you know Daniel's not here. Is this something Daniel would do? Probably not. I think it's a perfect, like, you got Chosen and Johnny, who are impulsive. Johnny's super impulsive. Chosen is impulsive enough and he's violent enough, but he's also calculated and smart. But maybe they've just had enough of this crap and they're about to go just wreck some stuff. And I like that they're going to walk in and just spar this dude. It's so cool. I like that they're doing it. It's ballsy, and I like it.
Yeah,
what-
I'll file this one under spin-offs I didn't know I wanted. Johnny and Chosen, buddy cop,
Yeah.
bounty hunter, karate masters, just going around and just terrorizing corrupt karate dojos. Just give it to me. Netflix,
Oh, yeah.
come on.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so that's the second amazing spin-off idea we've had tonight, aside from Totally Terry. It's amazing. But I think that's a really good point, that
So good.
they're teaming up together, which is great. Chosen comes from a very aggressive, or at least when he was first taught, very aggressive form of Miyagi-Do. And then Johnny is obviously very aggressive with Cobra Kai. And you're right, it's probably something that Daniel wouldn't do. But he's doing it. And then we have Chosen here training. It looks like we've got Sam, Anthony, Eli, Robbie, and some of the other students in the back. Very cool. He's going to be teaching them new techniques. Now here's something we're getting. This is very late in the trailer, and we're getting these new characters, the corporate type, business types in the back. They've got their clipboards, and they're watching the wheel technique, evaluating, judging. What do you guys say, Chris? What do you say is going on here?
There's all kinds of theories out there about who they are. Could this be for some sort of national, international tournament? Could they be potentially involved in investigating what Terry did at the All Valley, and now we're kind of on the road to kind of a make good finals between some like Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, like some sort of like, these are the top two dojos, let's redo part of the tournament and not have a tainted victory? Could they be just scouting, taking notes, and making sure that all the training's on the up and up, and that everyone's following protocols? Your guess is as good as mine. There's a lot of different directions that could go in. But I think it's clear from later on that they are involved in whatever is happening at the Cobra Kai dojo, just based on their presence there. And it's interesting that this isn't the All Valley board as well.
Right.
And do they have any sort of a presence or any sort of a say in this?
Right. And that's something too. I think that's a really good thought, that they could be investigating Terry Silver. Maybe someone found something out and there is some regulatory thing. But it makes me think, though, that they are involved with, I mean, obviously they look way more money than the All Valley Committee. And I would think that the All Valley Committee would be the ones sort of investigating, because it was their local regional tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if this is part of Terry's plan to go bigger than the Valley. And I'm wondering if they're part of some larger organization that is, I don't know, maybe Terry is trying to get on their radar, and maybe Daniel and Chosen have done such a good job that they're in contention as well. I don't know. Drew, what do you think's happening?
I like what you guys were going down the path of, and the regulatory thing's interesting. But I was also wondering. So there's two things that come to my mind, and it's in line with what you both were saying. Was the piece about maybe an international or some national tournament, excuse me, where it's bigger and maybe there's some type of scoring, or maybe it's an investment thing. That was the other thing I was thinking about. If Terry's trying to really expand Cobra Kai, maybe they've got rival investors or something, and they're trying to say, hey, invest in our techniques. And that's why they're taking notes or something. And they're trying to see who has maybe the better methods. It's almost like a teacher's inspection or whatever they do when they do the teacher evaluation type stuff. But I think it's my thought is it probably plays into some type of maybe national tournament or scoring or something related to that, and the financial piece. I do love the angle, though, that they're getting like a redo from the cheat that happened before, and they're sort of rescoring them. I really like that theory a lot. I think that would be a cool touch, and it's a good way for them to have these two dojos go up against each other with the best students without like another just All Valley tournament, which is like a rehash of what they had. I like that idea a lot.
Right. And so in these two shots with the wheel technique, and then with Devin and Tori, it looks like they are sort of opposing form. They're showing forms. And then, okay, we'll get to the others later. We've got Kim Da-Eun, who turns around like a villain badass, and her basically army of senseis prepares for battle. Like that's It looks like fire back there, and she's like, "You want it? Come on!" And then we've got Chosen and Johnny like ready to wage war against all these people.
And this is like, I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie The Raid or like The Raid 2. Like that's what this gives me vibes of. It's like the guy when they say, when this guy shows up, it's about to go down. Like, look at these guys. The eye patch guy. I mean, this is like a straight up like 80s just action movie. And I remember the tweet that we had from, I think was it John Hurwitz? I don't remember whose tweet it was, but he said this is a different kind of 80s movie, action movie.
Right.
Like this is what I think he's talking about. I mean, this is awesome. I love this. And just eye patch guy. I mean, we're gonna need to do a villain card for Sensei Kim here, because I don't know that she's a henchman. She might be a straight up villain herself. So,
well, to that point, Chris, you talked about earlier how Sensei Kim could be trouble for Terry Silver, and in this shot we see it looks like if these senseis came with her from South Korea, I mean, this is a big problem potentially for Terry if they decide they want to take over, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Like this is the type of thing where like in one fell swoop, all of a sudden Terry's grand plan could just completely backfire on him. And then whatever that means, like whatever Sensei Kim's intentions are, I guess, that's very interesting. Is there potentially someone even more evil than Terry? Like that, that can't be, right? But like, could it? Like, it's just all the possibilities of all the different alignments and all the different shades of gray, and the way this show operates in shades of gray. It's they paint with those shades like Bob Ross painting a landscape. It's just like,
I love that.
It's just a masterclass in 30 minutes, truly, because the episodes are so short. So
instead of happy little trees, angry little senseis.
Yeah, right. Well, we have happy little bonsai trees. But yeah, no, this is also someone did mention this. One of the senseis, and right next to Tyron Woodley, second from the left, is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, another MMA fighter as well. So two guests playing senseis.
I like that.
Do we have any more guests throughout the season? I guess I don't think they got in that Andrew Garfield cameo this season, but maybe next one. But
hopefully for 6.
I'd be interested to see how much of a role Tyron Woodley and Stephen Thompson have, and potentially if there's any other surprise guests, celebrities that just want to be part of the show because they're fans.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know, guys. I'm smelling some amazing fights coming up.
Yeah.
Like I think the fights are going to be on the next level this season. Okay. Well, speaking of fights, we see another. This looks like some more of that. Whatever it is, an evaluation, sparring tournament, exhibition, I'm not sure, with Eli Hawk in a Miyagi-Do-gi at the Cobra Kai dojo with Terry Silver watching, and Kenny is about to kick him. And then Sensei Kim's watching too. Then they pull a trick thing, and I think we're back at that scene earlier where Sensei Kim is fighting off Devin and Tori with her braid, which is pretty amazing. And then, okay, so here's Tori looking very intense. And it almost looks like the same scene where she's being whacked by the bamboo stick. And so this kind of is interesting because will Tori break as far as like defect, or will Tori get really bad? Like, could she get really intense? Like maybe because it looked like Sensei Kim was favoring Tori in a way, at least early on. Could Tori get lost? What do you guys think?
It's a really good point. Like if she's so down and out, instead of breaking away, she just breaks even further bad. And it's like you said, she just fully embraces like the dark side, not to use a Star Wars analogy, but like someone mentioned Anakin Skywalker. She goes full on Darth Vader here. It could be. And it would be interesting. I mean, I think they're going to give her a redemption arc just because it seems like they're setting that up. But man, they would really turn it on its head because I think everyone's expecting her to break away from Cobra Kai. And it would be pretty interesting if she just went full on evil. Like, I think that would be a cool angle. I don't think people are expecting that, put it that way. I think the majority of people, at least what I'm seeing, think that she's going to leave Cobra Kai and she's not going to like it. But it would be interesting if she stayed and went even worse.
Well, Chris, what do you think about that idea of Tori? Everyone thinks, oh, she saw Terry cheat and everything. But what if at the end of the day, she doesn't have too much of a problem with it, or she embraces it?
I don't know. I tend not to fall in line with that just because of kind of the bond that she had with Kreese, especially towards the end of season 4. I truly think that this is going to be a crossroads for her. At least I would hope so. I don't know how much more angry and how much darker the Tori character can really get. I feel like we saw Hawk get to a certain point, and then the only place to go is to make that turn. I think we're seeing Tori get to that point, but then this is a show that subverts its own tropes quite a bit.
Right.
So it could be, that there could be a lot of merit to that maybe Tori goes further down the path and gets lost in it.
So on that point, especially with her bond with Kreese, do you think Tori's going to be a mole? She's going to go keep up that contact with Kreese in prison and maybe report to him on what's going on with Terry and Cobra Kai.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love to see that.
Okay, so here's another shot, and we've got Sam and Devin fighting, and we see them, the panel, those types, they're evaluating at the Cobra Kai dojo. That's what's kind of throwing me. It's like it's not at a neutral site. It's at the Cobra Kai dojo.
You know what? I mean, Terry does have a lot of money. Maybe he just bought up everything and there's just nothing left. And everything, that's all that's left is just Cobra Kai dojos.
Yeah.
Like they don't have anywhere else to have it. Like he bought the All Valley. Maybe he redid what if this is at the convention center and he turned into Cobra Kai dojo?
Yeah. The All Valley Sports Arena is now the Cobra Kai Sports Arena, or the Terry Silver Sports Arena.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I love that.
There's nothing else left. Like they don't have anywhere else to go, and they can't do it in the yard at Miyagi-Do, so they got to do it here.
That's really something. Now, okay, there's something. Okay, Terry, I got to bring this up because it's an interesting thought. Terry Johnson says, I could see Terry helping Tori out financially, saving her mom even. And Seisha says, oh, that's brilliant. What if Tori's mom lives because of Terry Silver?
That's a good point. He's got the money, and I know that she was struggling with that. I mean, that's why she was doing all of those jobs, right? And I think it's almost like this indentured servitude where you've got like he makes you depend upon him.
Yeah.
And he makes you a dependent, and that's the brilliance of his methods. He knows how to get people and keep them. He snares them in, and I think that's a brilliant thing. I like that a lot.
As 6 Ways to Someday says, silver saves nickels. That's a good one. I like it. So, okay, Chris, we've got Kenny. Obviously, he's performing very well. This is one of the senseis. So maybe this is one of the locations, and this sensei is running that location. Kenny's going there. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts. I'm wondering about these trophies on the back wall and where they came, like where'd they get these trophies so fast?
Terry had them commissioned, of course.
Yeah.
Just trophies for being Terry Silver.
Yeah.
Like, comes with the territory.
He bought off the committee and just retroactively commanded them as champions of every past year.
Right.
What if when that picture of Tori bringing her trophy into the dojo, and Terry's there, what if Terry's like, hey, bring in your trophies, everyone. Let's bring them in. Let's display them here. They belong here in the dojo. It could be something to that. Maybe that's where they came from.
That's interesting.
I love that.
And that's really gonna, get under Tori's skin, because she's like, oh great, yeah, now I gotta look at this thing, and you want me to display it here, and you want me to see that trophy. Not, at this point, he may know, he may not know that she's kind of hip to him, but I could totally see that being a thing where he's like, yeah, let's all display these trophies, or they could just be fake. Who's gonna know?
It's like counterfeit money, right? He's printing his own trophies.
Yeah. Why not? Like he probably just starts, like he probably just takes over the entire All Valley committee, and therefore just confiscates all the trophies, and they all live here now.
Of course we won in '89. Yeah, we won that.
I love that. So is it like one of those, he printed himself up a best sensei trophy?
I like Matt's comment, best ponytail.
Yes. Great job, Matt. That's wonderful.
That is spot on, Matt.
Some of those may be his piano playing trophies.
He deserves one for that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully there's a piano in one of these dojos. I hope so.
Oh my God. Could you imagine Terry serenading them while they're training?
Yeah. During that scene with, Sensei Kim and Devin and Tori where she's whipping them, what if he's like playing like Beethoven? That's amazing. Anyway.
that.
Okay. So here they're all together. They're using Street Fighter 2 techniques.
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
that he's teaching them how to do a Hadouken over here.
Right.
This-
But this is amazing. Like, and you guys were talking about this earlier. Like, it's really cool to see them like all together. It looks like they're friends now, and hopefully the angst is. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Drew?
I would like that because there comes a time when it's like, all right, enough with the conflict. Like, how many times can you be friends, then not be friends, then be friends and not be friends? We talk about CW. It gets to be a little CW-esque here. It's like, you know what? Let's just be friends here and let's fight the bad guys. Come on now. So
Right.
I'll be happy if that is, because I'll say this, right? For me, the thing that draws me in about this show was the legacy characters. I just
Mhm.
happen to like the younger characters out of that. I know some people who didn't have as much of an attachment with some of the older characters, maybe like the newer characters. These people grew on me quite a bit. At first, I didn't like certain aspects of it. It wasn't that it was bad. It's just that I wanted more of the Johnny Lawrence stuff and I wanted more of the other stuff. And as I started to grow with the show, I wanted more of the Miguel stuff. I wanted more of the Robbie stuff too. And I started to enjoy that a little bit more. I would still say I prefer the legacy characters because it cuts to the core of what brought me in from the beginning. But I think if they can team up and be on the same side, I think it'll draw me in even more to what they're about and what they're trying to do, because it's that back and forth drama that starts to get a little tiring for me personally. So I'll be happy if they're fighting together and doing Street Fighter 2 moves.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Chris, here we go. This is again like coming at it from a super Terry Silver fan. I know Drew's feeling this way too. Seeing Terry Silver face down a really disheveled looking Daniel is very entertaining to me. Let's put it that way. And I just love this look from Terry Silver. It's wonderful. It reminds me of the look that Terry Silver gave to Miyagi's Medal of Honor back in Karate Kid 3. It's that same sort of like devilish. He's loving this moment. And what do you think he is doing with Daniel here?
This is going to sound stupid, but when I saw this for the first time, it made me think of when Terry broke into Miyagi's house.
Yeah.
And hid in the chimney.
Oh yeah. Yep.
What if he broke into Daniel's?
Man,
Great.
he deserves the bonus
wall
point.
back there.
That's great. I love that.
I'm looking at that wall back there, and it almost looks like there was a hole punched through it. Maybe that could just be my eyes deceiving me. But what if, like, because Daniel's knuckles are bloody in this other shot? What if Daniel like was trying to hit Terry and punched a hole in the wall, and now Terry's just kind of like, "You ain't gonna hit me," and he's just kind of backing him into a corner here, like, because Daniel, he looks both afraid and enraged, and that's not a look that I think we've ever really seen on his face, at least not Daniel in the show.
Right.
So this kind of, I get the vibe of Terry catching Daniel off guard,
Yeah.
potentially at his own home.
Well, hey, Chris, that was a brilliant observation. I totally missed that Daniel's knuckles were bloody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that takes it to a whole new level. What do you think, Drew? Oh, and for you, Drew, Matt
Hey.
Moore says he looks like Vigo, the Carpathian painting in
Listen.
Ghostbusters 2.
Death is but a door, time is but a window. I'll be back.
Yes.
If they can somehow work that line in there, then it's just, God, how do you make the best show ever? That's how you do it.
Right.
But no, I agree. And I always forget about him hiding in the chimney. It's like
Terry Silver is the anti-Santa Claus.
Yeah, remember how we used to call him the anti-Batman too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that was the first thing we said. He's like Bruce Wayne, but he's the anti-Batman. Like he masquerades as like a supervillain. He's this like billionaire guy, and he's just messing with teenagers instead of saving people. So I still stand by that. And he lives by that code of honor there, or code of dishonor. But I love that he's antagonizing him. His knuckles are bleeding. we heard it, right? You make his knuckles bleeds. I like that, Johnny. I'm going to use that. All the lines that he says from Karate Kid 3, he's there again, and that's a callback. And I don't know if this is the black eye scene or what, but I do like the idea that, like, look at that look. He looks so satisfied, like where he's at right now. He's in a position of complete power.
Yes.
Daniel's completely disheveled. He's got the 5 o'clock shadow. His knuckles are bleeding. He's on the ropes. I mean, Terry's in charge here, and I'm really curious to see at what point of the season this is and where it's going to lead. But that look on his face is just pure control, and it's awesome. And man, can we just? I do it every time, but can we just give a round of applause to Thomas Ian Griffith? Because man, what a masterclass in acting. I mean, he is awesome, and he's bringing this character to life. Yes, the writing has given him more nuance, but his performance is so good, man. If he doesn't get nominated for an Emmy, we got to start a petition here because he deserves it. He's awesome. And I think someone wrote in the chat earlier, this is sort of started a little renaissance for his career. I know he hasn't acted in quite a while. He's been writing, but man, he didn't miss a beat. He came right back and he channeled that character, and he's added even more layers to it. And it's just kudos to him, man. Bravo. What an awesome actor.
Yeah.
Very well said.
100% agree, Drew. And I think Netflix needs to start the Emmy campaign now.
Yes.
I mean, really just incredible job. Again, as you know, I think you've said before, Drew, a singular performance. Like no one else could play Terry Silver.
Yeah.
And really just incredible job. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so this is kind of like the stinger scene of this trailer, and the counselor here is saying, you know, hey, it's great that you're getting along with the others. And then we see a Kreese. He's fighting someone. He's wearing basically a Department of Corrections. He's a prisoner now. He's in jail, and he's fighting another prisoner. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really good at making friends," which is great. And then, okay, so you made an amazing comment, Chris, on this portion here, and we got some still frames, and it looks like, and I'll be honest, when I was looking at this, I thought that perhaps they just used a really mismatched stunt double for Kreese.
Right.
Like, and I was like, oh, I'll just go with it. It's just because it looks like it's the same place and everything. And maybe they just, but no, that's a completely different haircut. Like you go back, there's Kreese, that's his haircut. But this is a completely different haircut. And we see a few different shots. What do you think's happening here, Chris?
Well, at first, when I was first watching the trailer and just like slowing it down and looking, I was like, okay, well, that's definitely not the back of Kreese's head. That's a much younger man. And then at first I was like, could this be Mike Barnes? That was my initial thought. But then when we get to the shot that you have on the screen right now, I was like, no, that looks like Barrett, who plays young Kreese. So my thought here is this is a flashback to young Kreese in prison. And I think something that could potentially give it away is the difference in color grading. When you go back to the older Kreese scenes, I mean, even that looks a little bit warmer than the shot of him with the therapist, but
it's got a haze to it.
This looks, this has like that flashback kind of hue and tint to it. So could this potentially be a flashback to a time when young Kreese was in prison? Could that be Barrett? Like, I think Barrett on his social media was teasing something at some point. Could be, could not be, could be something completely different. I just remember in the trailer for season 3, there was a shot of Barrett as young Kreese fighting outside the diner, and everyone was like, "What the hell is this?" And this almost reminds me of that shot in a way, of just a behind, shot from behind of him fighting someone. And that's, to me, it's a dead ringer for Barrett Carnahan.
Interesting. I love that idea. It's so interesting because, it obviously the whole thing reminded me of like the POW flashback, but then what if Kreese was behind bars after getting out of the war, and what if we're seeing some history there? That's really fascinating. A lot of people we've got, Jay Sedon says it's a young Kreese flashback. Joshua says not a flashback though. But I love that idea, Chris. I think that's very eagle-eyed. And I'm very excited to see. I'd love that to be a flashback. I want to see more young Kreese backstory. I don't know. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I think it would be cool. I mean, it would be really cool to see what happened to him. I mean, we got that one scene of him and Terry in the tattoo parlor last year,
Right.
or the last season, and there wasn't much. And I, you guys probably know better than me, but I thought I read something that said that they had a bunch of other things they wanted to put in there, and they didn't, and they deferred it. So I don't know if we'll get some of that now, or maybe it's saved for something else. But if this was a flashback to him being in prison, it would tie back into the lines that he says about, making friends, and maybe that's where he met some other people. And you got to wonder if Terry was in there with him. Probably not, because I guess he wouldn't have been able to do the business stuff. But I would be really curious to see if it was a flashback. Did he have other people that he's gonna maybe call on to help him now? While Silver's bringing in the senseis from overseas and the whatever the fist I think they were called, which is a complete badass name.
Right.
But be curious if maybe Kreese has some friends that he's going to call on to help him out.
Some people in the chat pointed out that it actually looks like some of the people in the background are the same people in the old Kreese and young Kreese shots. So maybe the idea is when Kreese is fighting in prison, they're cutting between an older Kreese and a younger Kreese. Maybe
handling himself.
He's flashing back to his glory days, something
That's
along
cool.
those lines. Could be that would make sense. Basically, yeah. Like if you look at the sneakers here that he's wearing, I have the trailer up in another window here, and if you can go to the shot where he's giving the knee, those sneakers don't look like they would be around in the 70s.
Yeah.
So that could be it. It could be the young Kreese actor, and they're literally just cutting between old Kreese fighting and young Kreese fighting, but it's still happening in present day.
I like that. Like, that's how he sees himself, as some folks have pointed
Yeah.
out. Like, I think that's a really awesome point. I love that idea.
That's really interesting. And then Mayak says that's the reason he goes to the therapist. Probably. That's interesting. Yeah, I love these ideas. One person a lot of people wish Kreese would run to in prison is Dutch. But I think we've heard from the actor that he won't be appearing in the Cobra Kai series, which is too bad. But you can see that everyone's like aghast at this fight, like, whoa, like, so man, Kreese is someone to be reckoned with, that's for sure.
They probably think like this old guy is not going to do anything for us, and he comes in and just whoops their butts, which is awesome. Yeah,
that's really, really interesting. Which, this is kind of a shared experience. We were talking about Sean Payne before, Chris. Could Kreese recruit Sean Payne at some point? They're both prison tough. So
yeah, that's a great point. Imagine if Kreese somehow shows up out of prison with Sean, just like a complete wild card in the situation there.
Yeah,
that would be amazing. So many possibilities. It's like this could very well be like that's what's great about the show. It's like you never know.
Exactly. Quick says he starts Prison Kai, which I think is great. And that's the only thing I know for sure is that, oh my goodness, 30 minutes, man, I wish those episodes were longer. Like there's so much story that we could do here.
Well, it's kind of crazy. Like, Chris, I know you're a wrestling fan, but it reminds me of something like, I think about like the Royal Rumble, or just all these different converging storylines. Like there's so many characters they've got to maintain, and all these different people. And now you've got prison people, and you've got the Cobra Kai Globo Gym dojos, and you've got the other, like there's almost at a certain point, like it's almost too big to reel into a 30-minute show. And how are they going to man? I mean, they do a good job with it, but it is tough. They're building out a really big world that how do you juggle all that stuff in a predominantly 30-minute show? It is, I don't envy them. That's a really hard job. So they've introduced a lot of pieces on the board, and how you actually manage them is tricky. I think we might wind up seeing episodes where you don't see people for about a while because they're off doing something else. I mean, it's the only way you can really manage that at this point, I feel.
Yeah. It's a great point. Yeah.
we get this final shot of Kreese, and he says, "I find that a little kindness goes a long way." So he's great at just manipulating everything. And then here's someone that we don't really see in the trailer, Mike Barnes. And we've talked about Mike Barnes a bit, and so guys, I'm interested though to get we've watched this whole trailer. I want to get your thoughts wrapped up, but before I do that, I want to point people to the other stuff you do besides give expert and really long and detailed, and thank you for staying with us late into the night analysis on all this stuff. Drew, your Last Row podcast, for anyone who's interested in Cobra Kai, I bet you're interested in the 80s, 90s, movies that have come before, movies that have stuck with us over the decades. Tell people really quick about the Last Row podcast and why they should check it out right after this if they're still awake.
Yeah, if you like Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, we love a lot of those movies. Our website is thelastrowpodcast.com. You can check out our back catalog. We have 112 episodes. We just dropped our newest episode on the 1987 Predator movie. As we said in the beginning of this episode, this is Predator month for us, so we're going to do another Predator 2 episode in 2 weeks with the release of Prey coming out. But we love the 80s and 90s, and we do a lot of other types of movies, but it's movies that you kind of forgot you love, rewatchable movies, things that you just want to talk to your friends about. And the type of show that we have is me and my co-host Badway. We just kind of talk about the movie. We talk about the world and the characters, and we rate the villains, and we talk about ponytails and henchmen. We have a lot of fun. And if you like this kind of stuff, then I think you would enjoy our show. So I would love it if you all checked our show out and let us know what you think. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to share that with everybody, Ken. And thanks to everyone that checked us out already.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I love the Last Row podcast. I listen to it religiously. Everyone go check it out. Chris Maffei, thank you for all your insights. Though we have to follow your channel. We've got a link to it in the description. Tell us about the stuff we can expect from your channel if everyone can go over and subscribe to it now.
Yeah, well, I currently have a channel called Wrestling Undercover. I do covers of pro wrestling themes in various genres, kind of all over the place, anything from synthwave to metal, you name it, like all types of music that I like to work on. But that's kind of on the shelf for now, because I'm planning to start a newer channel pretty soon where I'll be doing more just music in general, originals, covers, but I really want to focus on doing a series of covers of Cobra Kai and Karate Kid music. The music from the original movie it has been with me for a long time, but the soundtracks to the show are just phenomenal. And Zach and Leo, who do the music, are just like incredibly talented. I love the way the show is scored. It brings me anywhere from great sweeping Bill Conti moments to like the rocking soundtrack of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So
Yeah.
it's like got a little bit of everything that I love. So I plan to do a lot of covers of Cobra Kai and Karate Kid music in the future. So I would definitely love to be able to share all of those at some point in the near future.
Absolutely.
Your covers are amazing, Chris. Like I've listened to a lot of your songs and the stuff that you put out there, and they're awesome. Especially this, I have a soft spot for synthwave, so like all your synthwave and metal, so all of your covers of that are incredible. Everyone should check it out for sure.
That's awesome, Chris. I can't wait. I'm so excited, and I'm so happy that you're touched by that music. I know as much as all of us, and I can't wait to hear your interpretation of all of those cues and everything. Wonderful. Well, Drew and Chris, thanks for coming on. And before we go, I just wanted to get your final thoughts. We've talked a lot about this trailer, which was just over 2 minutes long, and we've been speaking for over 3.5 hours. So it's been pretty detailed. Everyone, thanks for your comments. This is incredible. This is an epic ultimate breakdown of this trailer. What are your thoughts? Chris, let's start with you about this trailer, about season 5. Are you your level of excitement going forward, that type of thing?
Yeah, it's got to be a 10. Anything else would be too low, as they say on the Last Row podcast. Too low. Too low. A new season of Cobra Kai is like, it's just one of the things that every year, I so much look forward to. And I feel spoiled that we're getting this one so soon, because I remember the painful wait between season 2 and season 3. And a lot of people jumped on during that time. so they don't know. And I feel very jealous of those people because that was a painful wait for season 3. So this is like getting Christmas early this year. I am so incredibly excited to see Terry unleashed, just Terry off the chain. I think that's going to be just a revelation for those who maybe weren't the biggest Karate Kid 3 fans or maybe never even saw it. They haven't truly seen Terry yet. But now, like this season, I think that the way I can sum it up is this season is just going to be totally Terry. That's it.
Hashtag totally Terry.
That's great. I love it. That's wonderful. Drew, what are your thoughts?
Everything Chris said, man, I totally agree. I mean, totally Terry as well. And I have the whoever said that in the chat, I can't remember the name, but thank you for putting that because that was just amazing. And I feel like, you know, for me, we've talked about this at length, and you know, I could talk about Terry Silver for 3.5 more hours, and we'd probably still be gushing about him.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, between the performance that Tig's going to give us from this season, what we've seen in the trailers, the opportunity, and the writing, I'm really excited to see how they build up his character and build it out even more. I mean, we've never really seen him truly on the top, and he is on the top. And you know, as they say, there's only one where to go when you're on the top, down. And hopefully we don't get that too much this season. I would like to see him going into season 6 as still the villain.
Right.
But I am really excited, and I'm also really excited to see Mike Barnes coming back because you know, he's someone that people have always speculated, like, what's he up to? Where's he at? And it's almost like the same type of anticipation that people had for Terry Silver. You know, the movie didn't get a ton of respect. I know Karate Kid 2 has always gotten a lot of respect. People love Chosen. I think there's this cult of people that love Barnes like they love Terry. I mean, I'm one of them. So I'm really excited to see what Sean Kanan can do with the character too. I mean, he's been a huge ambassador for the character. I know he's a great, you know, great actor as well. I'm super pumped to see what that's going to be. So I'm just really excited. And to Chris's point, I didn't think we would get it so soon. I know we've talked about like the anticipation of like the new year and the holiday, and like, you know, I like the buzz of the holiday, but at the same time, if I get to watch this in 3 weeks, I'm not going to complain. So
Right.
And I'm looking forward to binging it and talking to you guys about it, you know, for every episode.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I've really enjoyed talking with you guys about this. You know, I've learned so much from you guys, and I've learned so much from everyone in the chat today. I do have one thought about Mike Barnes. I'm wondering if when they put this trailer together, they had this kind of edict of do not show Mike Barnes, we're going to save him. And then someone at some point after the trailer was finished said, you know what, let's reveal Mike Barnes. Like, and it's because this would have been a great opportunity to put some kind of tease, even if we just see him in silhouette or something. Like that would really make this trailer pop. But so they probably had some mixed messages, I'm guessing, with the reveal. But I am super looking forward to seeing Sean Kanan back as Mike Barnes. There's no trace of him that I could tell really here. So they cut around him very nicely. I wonder what part he's going to play.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Drew. It's been amazing. It's been real. And I look forward to doing this again with you sometime, and really enjoyed tonight.
Thank you for having us again. This is always awesome. It's always a pleasure to join the KenCast. So thank you. Thanks to everyone in the chat that hung with us for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is almost as long as the season's going to be when you think about it.
I know, right? Exactly.
And that's just off of a 2-minute trailer. Yeah. So no, Ken, it truly an honor to join you guys here. This was so much fun. And thank you to everyone who hung out with us tonight. A lot of great theories, a lot of great comments in the chat. So this was a lot of fun to kind of be on this side of it for once. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to have you. And one last super chat. Thank you, guys. You really help support this channel. Ziggy Flybone says, love these After Dark streams. Thanks for the great discussions and analysis. You guys are awesome. Much love. Thank you. So nice.
Peter, we're still here. We waited for you.
We were waiting for you.
Yeah, we're waiting for you, Peter. Thank you for showing up, Peter. We are signing off for KenCast After Hours. We'll see you next time. Good night.